Spee's Reaper that has just been able to clean up shop.
This is not good for Odyssey, I don't think. Unless they start getting the kills, it's going to be really bad. Spee opening it up, it's quite good. We need to find more. Malphil's gone down, so they've lost a lot of kill potential, and now they will lose point A. They're going to get killed out on the entry of this spawn, and they're finding kills after the point's gone. This is quite unfortunate for them, but now they have to retreat because they do not want to get staggered here. They want to play and set up around this payload in an advantageous position.
I don't know if they really need to go away from the point here. I mean, not only can Dove just kind of spawn camp behind the point, but you also have so much aggression that can come through from the team of Odyssey that, you know, where does Square One actually try to engage from? Look at how Odyssey has this on lock.
It's going to be quite difficult. They're going to take the high ground and move around. Graviton Surge to try and punish Malphil. He's getting everything he needs. Him calling the Immortality Field as well. The wall doesn't matter. The Shadow comes in. Pulse Bomb in the middle of all of that chaos. And Malphil has still not died. Meteor Strike comes down on top. Won't find the kill. Spee is on point right now. Try and get that bad boy moving. There's going to be that Blizzard thrown in. Malphil's taking him out. A couple of supports frozen up. They could not escape. And this is the breakaway Square One need. They can finally get this payload in motion.
Can get the payload in motion here, and they had to switch up a bit of their composition in order to actually make it happen. Exarath is actually on the Moira right now, so big death ball coming through from Square One, which is kind of what we were seeing from our first quarterfinal when we did get a chance to see King's Row get played out. So I really like this coming through the same from Square One because they were able to get through the aggression from Odyssey, and now Dove, Malphil, they've switched it up. Dove is going to be on the Echo and Malphil on the Junkrat. Very interesting choices coming through here.
Well, Spee's doing exactly what Rhino tried to do, but they know to check this angle. They're just firing mines in there. Spee's going to go back in. He's got the Death Blossom. Graviton Surge is there, checking every angle he possibly can. Beat comes in to save the day for Square One, but Dove's found Milky Man regardless. Oh, Spee got shut down out of the Death Blossom. Malphil's explosive play has warranted him a Junkrat Riptire and a shutdown onto Reaper. This is huge for Odyssey as changes are starting to come through from Square One.
Gonna make a couple of changes here, and here's where King gets a chance to come back out on the Pharah and Angelic on the Mercy. This is the Pharah Mercy composition that we said Square One was able to do a lot of work with when we saw our very first map of this series. So I'm really excited to see Square One roll out on that. But Milky Man also switching it up to be able to play this Winston. And now what are you gonna, there's a lot of key targets to dive here on Odyssey's line. You've got Malphil's Junkrat, you also have Lucamino's Baptiste, as well as Rakatak's Anna as great targets for this dive.
Quick reposition for King. He wants to get into the fight. There's the Riptire coming in. Speed's already lost his life to the minefield. They're backing out. They will take out Malphil. The tire still around, and he gets the self-vengeance on Milky Man afterwards as well to equal the playing field. Rhino gets the mine kill on King because he managed to get some verticality with his mines. So when King tried to travel through the streets, he was flying low altitude and just got clipped by an explosive. That's unfortunate for them as well. We're entering into sub 2 minute territory soon, Rose. Dove has got the clone online for this next engagement.
Yeah, and there's also the Coalescence to come through as well. And with even though there aren't any shields, you don't have to worry about that. The Coalescence is still going to do quite a bit of work here.
Primal Rage, here we go. This is what we like to see from Dove. Went up into the sky, drops back down. Struggling to find a connection. You can tell he doesn't play a lot of main tank as he goes up into the sky, but it's enough. He created enough space and distraction for his team to follow up with kills. Odyssey have gone back to locking Square One into this initial spawn area. A Graviton Surge just to get out the front door, and they flip it back. But it's going to be another contest coming out from Odyssey. They've got enough distance on this payload to stay in this.
I completely missed a switch from Malphil from the Junkrat onto the Genji. Yes. Interesting. I mean, Malphil's been playing a heck ton of Genji, don't get me wrong, so this might end up working out really well for them, especially because you don't have a defensive ultimate on the side of Square One to be able to deal with the Blade, especially if you're going to get the Nano online from Rakatak.
Yeah, he's going to get that Blade online most quickly. He did go ahead and dodge out from the Pulse Bomb, so that's fine. Window is here to deal with this oncoming attack. They're keeping Rhino on the contest right now. If he goes down, it's going to be difficult for him to stay in. They've lost Rakatak on the backline to a Primal Rage. Graviton Surge is there. Barrage comes in afterwards. Minefield is there. The Blades is a bit overkill for Malphil, but we'll forgive him on this one because they've already won the fight Odyssey take control of the payload. There is one final attempt for Square One. Odyssey just need this final team fight win to secure a spot in our grand finals.
Yeah, and there's nothing online for either team. So we're really going to be looking at an all-out brawl to finish out this second point of King's Row. Square One needs to find a win here, and King has just switched over to the Sombra. So looking at key hacks, looking at making sure that the mobility on Odyssey can't get taken advantage of for this next engagement, but it's got to come in quickly.
Great rotation around the back. Dove Pulse Bomb going to be online. Needs to find a target with this one to seal the deal. Holding on to it for the time being. Anti-nade going to be dropped down onto Spee. He needs to take cover. He won't get the healing he requires. Exo-Wrath taking a nap. Vulcan's gone down. The hack was good enough for Jet to get a kill. Pulse Bomb comes out, won't find anyone, and the kills are coming in for Square One. They've done enough to move this one over the line and get themselves a little bit of extra time. But, bros, that crisis scenario we talked about is now in effect. I don't see them getting through the entirety of this section with 1 minute 30. It looks like it'll be an overtime completion, which means they won't walk away with the win this map.
No, the best case scenario would be a draw to be able to move us into a map 4. But there's a minute and a half on the clock for Odyssey. They were able to take that first objective relatively quickly, but it's not over yet. Odyssey is trying to finish it out here. A minute left on the clock now.
These hacks have been so good at setting up the kills, as expected from the Sombra. King finding value. That EMP will be big when he gets it online. But they're on that home stretch now. Rose, we may have spoken too soon. If there's no defense from Odyssey, they're going to be able to walk away with the completion, with some time to spare, and they're not finding a footing right now.
No, they're not. Someone needs to be able to come out and touch. Here comes a hook, though. That might have been it. Odyssey might be able to get those reinforcements back online just in the nick of time.
Yeah, taking out Exo-Wrath. They've lost both the healers, Rose. They have to go into full retreat. They got 30 seconds remaining. As long as they don't get staggered, they maybe get one more contest on this. Still, it's difficult. They have to stay alive. No picks coming in. Speed trying to stay forward so we can get that touch. They shut him down. It's all over.
Oh, and they're going to be watching out for Dove. Dove's going to be watching out for King right now with that EMP online. No, there's not really a way to stop it, except if Dove gets a chance to take them out.
Milky Man's found Rhino. It's a huge charge. They need to touch, though. They will not be able to complete this with time to spare. But they do not want to lose the map. Dove's Pulse Bomb's there. Graviton, here's the Big Bang coming in. The Death Blossom as well. All the ultimates online and thrown into the mix. The overtime's going to tick down. The res comes out. Odyssey just need to finish off Spee and the rest of the stragglers, but that's it. They're going over to the grand final. The EMP was just for show. And Square One, they will lose themselves a spot in our Feed Fest.
Wow, what a series so far. And yes, Milky Man's gonna be able to get the play of the game. I mean, there are some big shatters that came through here. I just want to watch this play one more time. We got a chance to see it on the replay, but also this huge shatter coming through with all the purples. Love to see it. That's just the classic Reinhardt that we get a chance to see. But man, Odyssey ended up playing so well in that series, and like we said, second place in the July Contenders Tournament. They're hungry for the win here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we don't know the current state of the other semifinal that's about to happen, but if Slept On win that, then that is a Contenders final rematch happening in the Feed Fest. So, and that's a perfect opportunity for them to right a wrong that happened earlier on. Let's take a look at the replay package from the entire series. A lot of this came down, I feel, to some early C9s from Square One. They didn't have a lot of point control, and it cost them quite dearly in Junkertown. An over-reliance on King Farah Mercy, and just a lot of clutch frags coming out from Malfel's Doomfist.
Yeah, I would say it heavily relies more on the clutch frags we got a chance to see from Odyssey.
Yeah.
It wasn't even just from Malthel either. Even the Doomfist was a great engagement tool for Odyssey. You saw Dove getting a chance to clean up quite a few of those kills as well, and you can see from the replay package exactly how this composition for Odyssey really worked. If Rhino was playing the Wrecking Ball or the Roadhog, you really saw Rhino get very, very aggressive and just create so much space for both Malthel and Dove to go in and pop off. And with Vulcan there by their side as well, just really kind of helped to create that space and keep those points and objectives moving.
Where would we be if we didn't? We'd be quite rude, Rose, if we didn't talk about Spee's Junkertown performance on
We
this
would.
Ash. It was He took the Valiant's advice and clicked some heads, and
Oh yeah.
and a lot of damage being output there, basically dragging at times Square One through Junkertown. Finally going to move on to King's Row, and Dove's Widow didn't click heads as much, but he did have a nice little pop off there on point A.
Yeah, he really did. And then we get a chance to see the Milky Man Earth Shatter one more time, just in case you missed it. The first two, I really love getting a chance to see all of these players pop off. But it's not quite over yet. We do have a third place match that's going to be happening off stream to see who's going to take home that $500 prize. But right now, it's all about Odyssey moving forward to get either $3,500 or $1,000 for that second place prize.
Either way, they're in the money, Rose. They are going forward to our grand finals, and they will get to watch very eagerly the next series that comes up to decide who their opponent will be, and they can get some early scouting in on what's going to be happening, what they're going to run against. Can we beat that? Is that something we should not fall prey to? So there's a lot of value from actually being in this first semi-final. So yeah, take a rest, come back, and then jump into that semi-final. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Valiant Feed Fest presented by FiOS from Frontier. I've been Shrid. This has been Rose. That's us for the night. When you come back, we'll have ZP and Avast to take you through for the rest of the tournament. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the other side.
Speed Freaks do everything. All at once, whenever they want. Speed Freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the Speed Freak in you.
Our Tier 2 tournament is just around the corner. Shroud is back on Twitch. Fall Guys continues success, and Rekful got a proper tribute in his favorite game. I'm KSF, and these are your Valiant Fast 5 downloads presented by Frontier Communications. Headliner of the week is of course our upcoming community and tier 2 tournament, Valiant Feed Fest, powered by FiOS from Frontier. We've got giveaways, we've got an art and design showcase, we've got some great games of competitive Overwatch. Be sure to follow our socials for more info as the date gets closer. Former CS Pro and top streamer Shroud announces return back to Twitch after Mixer unfortunately shut down. Wednesday, he had his first stream back on the platform and was met with great success, of course. A game mode tested in beta will be making its way to Fall Guys, evidence that the new game, taking the gaming community by storm, will be getting consistent new content for people to enjoy. The colorful battle royale game about avoiding obstacles and being the last man standing has become very popular since its release, and only continues to grow. After the passing of World of Warcraft and gaming community legend Byron Rekful Bernstein, Blizzard added a touching tribute to the game in the form of a rogue trainer with his name. A reference to his rogue playstyle is included in the dialogue, and if you interact with the hug or love emote, his character will even do it back. Halo Infinite has been delayed to 2021, though the new Xbox is still set to release this November. It was an important step for the safety of those working on the game in an industry already full of merciless crunch hours and overworking. Thanks to the extra time to make the game better, it's sure to end up amazing, and we can't wait to play it. I'm KSF, and these are your Valiant Fast 5 downloads presented by Frontier Communications.
Yo, by the way, this stream can't see what we're playing.
Stream not showing.
Let's go.
So, you know, Charlie.
Oh,
Good job,
I
Charles.
can see it.
I'm good.
We can now.
Not better with just like Anna death noises.
Yeah, it was just Anna death noises. Anna shooting ASMR.
Owie. The gig is hard scoping, so we got stunned.
I didn't know. Wait. Just stunned?
What?
I didn't know that.
Nice hard scope, man. Why am I burning? What happened? Bro, why am I burning?
You on fire, maybe? You popping off?
Well, I think it is what that is. What?
Oh my.
What a highlight.
Oh. Go on.
Yeah, report KSP.
That was a triple feed. Let's
Go
go.
on, mate. Go on, mate.
are the rules to winning Overwatch. Rule number 6 is stay on the payload. Don't chase kills, move the payload. Someone should always be moving the payload little by little. Hey, if you have to be that player that just sits on the payload, do it. Last thing you want to do is C9 and forget.
What's happening?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Oh, this is
All I just know what's happening.
I'm all Bastion.
Oh, it's one of these.
All right, come on, Reaper, let's go.
Oh,
I
friends,
see.
friends.
Let's get this Rhines.
No, we're friends. We're friends. We're friends.
Come on, Rhines.
Why are there so many McCrees?
No.
Roll out, boys.
Oh no!
There's like a million.
No,
The tracers are attacking.
Where'd my boys go?
Got destroyed.
Yo!
Yo, Bastion gang attack.
That's embarrassing.
Oh, watch out! They got shacks on Tracer.
Oh no.
Who's Tracer? Who's Tracer?
I destroyed KSF,
Finally.
and then I got
Where's
nothing
the
down.
turn him
All
into
right,
a
we're the
mummy?
Tracer gang.
Jump him.
Oh,
Wait, they can come back.
Oh no! Oh no!
Nice.
Tracers win. They'll never catch
Wait,
me.
hold on. Let me check something. Hold on.
No.
Does it?
Wait a minute.
You lose a point? Oh yeah, you totally lose.
You're
I just wanted to see if it like let me change it.
Oh no.
No.
see ya.
No! KSP is having a lot of fun here.
Who's the last,
This
bro?
is this is some
We got-
Why are you like this, dude?
I actually fucking despise the other human being, KSP.
Everybody stand on the bridge. Everybody stand on the bridge.
respawned?
See if he can boops us all.
Let's see.
I don't want to take contact.
Don't boop us.
Come on, ball.
Got it.
Here we go.
No, he went right through.
Oh my god, dude!
No.
What?
No.
Wait, I didn't die. I didn't die.
What?
Welcome back, everyone. We're racing to the finish line here. Just one semifinal and the grand finals left to go. ZP here at the Vast, and oh man, the Vast, it's been a while since I've said
It's a blast from the past, one could say. I mean, we are back together, reunited, and it feels so good. And we got ourselves a semifinals and a grand finals to cast together today, ZP.
Yeah, and of course, it wouldn't be possible without the sponsors that made it happen. Of course, this is the Valiant Feed Fest presented by FiOS from Frontier. Both the Valiant and Frontier and Bacon happen, so big shout outs to them. And, you know, we got some great games here, Avast, and not only that, but also a preview as to what the meta could be heading into the Overwatch League playoffs, because it's a live patch. There's no hero restrictions whatsoever.
And no order.
Seen some changes. Yeah.
There's no order left either. There's no tanks remaining. It's last man standing when it comes to tanks now. It's just Hogs are running around, occasionally main tanks throwing in some balls and stuff. So I do think that it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be increasingly crazy as we move through the bracket. We saw a little bit of that in the match that just finished up, and I think it's going to continue to be equally insane in terms of the tank meta as we move forward.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a variability you love to see. You get a tournament of this sort here where, the teams right now are showing us what the meta could be. And, it's funny when you take a look at it from the game saying it's like Hog, Zarya. It's the world we're living in right now.
It's the world where all Hog one tricks may rejoice. They say, yes, finally, I'm not ruining all my games that for my teammates. Not that they cared anyways, but it's actually time where if you are a Hog player or a main tank that plays Hog, your time is now.
Yeah, and somewhere I just expect Harblues out there going, yes, sign me to the Overwatch League. Like late season signings are still a thing. Get me on in there. Let me relive my glory days. Now, of course, heading into this year, we've had a decent road to follow. But if we take a look at the bracket that should be up in a moment, it's really, some of the teams here are those you would expect to come in, where you look at teams like Slept On, a team built by Fact Fiction and Gods, both coaches and creators, as it turns out. Really good performance in the last contender season back in July, winning it. Now, still very much in it here in the Valiant Feed Fest, and watching them take on Triumph next, that's going to be very interesting.
I think it's going to be a very exciting matchup between the two. Like you said, there's been a history of success with this new roster. Was Slept On under the tutelage of Russ, as we call him. I know him like that, ZP. We call him Russ. But Fact Fiction and Gods, of course, two Overwatch League main tanks at one point. They've had a lot of success in their past careers as well. So they know what it takes to sort of like make a roster work. I mean, Gods was part of Second Wind at one point, which is the definition of just slapping, like MacGyvering things together to build the roster repeatedly after being poached. So a lot of guiding big brains there.
Yeah, meanwhile, their opposition in Triumph, Triumph is a third-party org that's been around for a while in the Overwatch scene. Of course, we casted Triumph a whole lot last year when you and I were casting contenders together, and obviously the roster has changed pretty dramatically since then. But, one thing you can be sure of is that the players have been getting pretty good support, and it's a team that you consistently do see in the thick of things, and this tournament here, no exception. And now, though, I've asked, looking to head into Nepal.
In Nepal, I think we're going to start seeing just the craziness of this composition come to light. I mean, Hammond definitely going to be a mainstay here. It's right now sort of just fluid. They're taking the shape of whatever container they may be into in here in terms of the tanks. So it's really exciting to see that preview, I think, as we head into the live patch for Overwatch League in the postseason as well. And the Feed Fest today is sort of just taking a lot of these upper echelon contenders teams and sort of seeing what it's going to be for Overwatch League as we progress.
Yeah, to a degree, what we see here really could be writing what to expect into the future. And, that's what makes these tournaments so fun. And, happy that it's being held here today. And, we'll see just what happens. If anything ends up surprising us. But, oh, man, Hog back in the meta. You take a look at the pit here in Nepal. Good times for the Hogs, not so good for everyone else.
You can hear the whispers. It's beckoning. It beckons those to enter its dark depths.
So taking a look at things here, both teams setting up what their roster...
No Hogs, ZP, where are they?
I know, I don't want to believe this. You can't do this to me right now. Surely not. Well, we got Hammond Diva for Slept On, and for Triumph, we got Arisa Sigma, so the Hogs are not out.
Though we are seeing a Ball Diva, so an extremely mobile composition here for Slept On. They're going to look to set up the boops, try to move on, and there's the first boops. There it is.
Yep, just sent the Sigma into the pit. A super early strike here from Slept On, and that just slows you down if you're triumphant. This isn't the easiest control around the retake.
I mean, with off already gone, that means that Slept On can just control these flanks really easily. They can start getting point presence. Down the Sigma early means that Triumph really cannot even contest the point at all unless they send Buck to it, and they weren't even looking at Buck. Buck's looking for a long flank.
Meanwhile, we got Valen here for Triumph. Triumph tries to begin the process, just get back over here to a point. But, as you mentioned, what Slept On is running is super mobile. They're not even necessarily going to fight long range. They're going to look to dive in, and Doge looking for it again here to the back. But Dynasty picked off early. Triumph still at a full 6, and they can maintain where they're at. They are going to start making progress to the point, but ooh, you lose your Tracer early, and the Hammond is just kind of unchecked.
Doge just needs to be rolling around, finding picks alongside Cowman, and that's exactly what they're doing. You see them controlling the flank, just looking to isolate people. As Albert would say of the Florida Mayhem, looking for the ISO off the Ang.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't say that with that sort of gusto. It'd be very reserved coming in from Albert, but yeah, absolutely right. And, you know, Triumph all the while right now, still in control of the point. Dynasty comes back in, takes Tracer one-on-one. But, you know, you look at Valen on the side, decent poke coming in, and, you know, the Ashe working out well for Triumph, even under pressure.
I mean, and Triumph during this time has gotten the reflip despite some of the contests from Slept-On. This is really good for Triumph, is as long as they just play the distance, play around their tanks, and right as they say that, Nick is going to go down. A lot of focus fire coming through, and they're unable going to be able to test this point. Yeah, it's done. Points flipped. Slept-On moving forward.
Yeah, so Slept-On back in control, but still relatively even so far, despite the start that Slept-On had. And you've been seeing a lot of this Tracer one-on-one the sides, where it seems like both teams are playing the front line, and then the Tracer's just having their own mini-game over here.
Well, it's really important for Buck to control this flank and make sure that Dynasty does not get any sort of entrance onto the backline here for Triumph. Triumph, they want to be standing resolute. The bomb through the window, the sleep! Oh, the lamp saves Nick.
Yeah. Immortality Field, always a solution for it. Buck, quick rewind out, Transcendence. Forced out here for Slept-On. Slept-On still control the point, and Buck, nowhere to go. And Slept-On starting to solidify here at 65%. Triumph running out of time to flip things around.
This is a really good dive here from the tanks of Slept-On. After they sent that bomb through the window, making sure that Triumph had to back up and use their lamp, they were just able to collapse onto the backline there. They lost so much point presence.
What is this? The Hammond v Hammond on the side. Where, by the way, no one's even gonna win. The Hammond that's losing is just gonna roll away in that situation. But
I think both Hammonds win there because they both build ult charge. You know, they're just farming each other for ult charge there.
They're actually both bamboozling their teams, enriching themselves in the process. And Triumph just getting crushed in the neutral battle, losing 2 immediately. Now 97% Slept-On, just about there. The Vines to steal it off. Still pretty competitive round 1.
But Slept-On, their comp was clearly just outperforming Triumph's most of that round. Triumph, they're so reliant on having the point control initially and then building like a giant curtain of shields where they just sit there and do a lot of damage with the Zen and with the Ashe. But Slept-On kept on disrupting them. They kept on forcing Lamp early. They had ults to get them out of position. Triumph just didn't have an answer to all that backline presence that Slept-On was providing.
And now we're going to see some wholesale change-ups here. You know, you're mentioning the compositions before. Triumph does look like they're going to change things up a bit. You got the Sombra coming into play with the Tracer. And, okay, they're still just swapping around. I'm not even sure Triumph knows what they want to do just yet.
Triumph probably looking like they're going to anticipate a ball again here with Valen on the Sombra. Not that Sombra's bad against non-ball compositions either. But blowing out here with the Sombra, you see TP is going to be used for both squads to get there a little bit faster. Make swap back to the Tracer, and it is going to be dive versus dive, but noticeably Slept-On playing that Winston Zarya, so they are going to be super reliant on getting that high energy, hoping the bubbles are going to save their backline from any dives for Triumph.
They're also playing it with a Zen, so I mean they're going to have more damage coming out from the support side of things, even without the Mercy sitting and pocketing the Ashe. But track right now, relatively well protected for Slept-On. Not really making a huge move to the point yet, and with Dynasty down, they're going to have to slow play this a bit here, Avast.
And that's absolutely something that couldn't happen early. They need to have the orb on Dynasty, but they are going to need some return frags. Doge going to go down in return along with Nick. Buck getting pushed, and Cowman has a lot of energy lower. They need to keep him up.
Buck meanwhile hot pursued and says, yeah, no, you're actually not going to keep that energy. Please take a nap. And Triumph coming out much stronger here, and I think the compositional swap has worked out well for them thus far.
I mean, the Mercy Ana is definitely the defining factor for this team difference right now, because I do think that when they're playing this, they can be a lot more mobile. They don't have to worry nearly as much as playing slow. Their Slept-On is boxed in to playing tight around Moser right now. They can't be overly aggressive. They can't even really dive nearly as heavily since Cowman's on Zarya. They're playing a counter dive style.
And again, Triumph getting super aggro off the Nano. Nick just hopping on in there. And Slept-On, I just feel like Slept-On's been stuck in this corner of the map the entire time here, Vast. They haven't been able to move to the point.
No, they're just sitting there. They're firing one musket ball, doing the next. It's all smoothbore muskets, just waiting. They can't get out because they're trying to play slow around Moser. This Ana Mercy comp is keeping them entirely boxed in.
Yeah, and it's just painful right now. But also pretty good for Triumph. And Dynasty loses on the Tracer, even as the EMP comes out. And Triumph just piling it on right now. They're at 65%, and Slepton is very much running out of time.
And there was the EMP committed up top just to box them in afterwards. There the dive following up shortly after. Slept on, this should be the fight, ZP. This should be the fight that they try to break through. They know there's no EMP. They're going to have grab. They'll have pulse. They'll even have a trance if necessary. They need to have a decisive fight win here.
I mean, it has to be now. Then they have to be perfect afterwards. But you look to Cowman to hold on to the grab for a while. See how
look how fearful they are, ZP. Look how slow they are. They need to get some energy. They need to get some point presence immediately.
Yeah, I mean, they're waiting and waiting. I mean, I guess they know it's one fight territory regardless, but Cowman just looking a little bit confused, going, where do I drop this grab? Don't really know yet. Probably not into the Diva. Gonna wait. Triumph, though, getting poked down pretty heavily in the neutral game, and early Transcendence. Graviton fall through, moving in, and slept on. They only get 2 off that. Still could be enough from the Graviton. Triumph now in the process of retreat. A very good start for Triumph, even losing that fight.
It took them a long time, 99% here for Triumph, and that was actually exceptionally close to being brought back. It was a great nano from Vigilante on the left. Lep survived the grab, was able to pop Valk afterwards, but cleanup just a little bit too powerful here for Slepton. This is where their comp should win, is in those post fights after they've gotten a couple picks, because they have the Zen, clean up that damage, they have a high energy Zarya.
Why the Lucio swap here? I mean,
it's dive. It's dive. Yeah. This is gonna be dive. You have the Lucio here to just make sure that you can do it even more effectively. You can have Lep be a fragger. Lep is one of those very high mechanically intensive Lucios, so I think they can just go for mega aggro picks onto the backline, because without a Baptiste, without a Brigida, Moser kind of vulnerable.
Oh, Valen just getting plunked immediately. Valen was a little bit more aggro there, was trying to build the EMP, was pretty close. But now the Sopra's down. I mean, you know you're close to the EMP, you still have time. I think Triumph just waits.
All right, now there's going to be a little bit of skirmishing still happening with Triumph. Triumph, though, their tank's stuck in main. Also, the other advantage of this Lucio, when we look at the Slepton comp, they have a beat for grab now. They have another defensive ult to make sure that they can survive. They have some fights to give, so Lep can build it off. Going to be making the swap to the Hammond, which I like a lot here. It commits more fully to the dive. It's going to be even better making sure to displace the Ashe, the Xin, the Ana, the backline for Slepton. The EMP is available.
Going for the pulse bomb. And Valen down immediately. EMP or no, I mean, the EMP hits 4. All through those still could be there. Slepton very low. You see Nick in the back. He's taken out 2 so far, but I think Triumph just bled too much early.
Triumph, they got boxed in there again early. Slepton splitting the backline, keeping Vigilante boxed up. There isn't really any heals. There's no anti-nades coming out there, so they weren't able to even follow up on that EMP at all. And look at all the ults for Slepton too for this final fight. It's on Nick to get the touch and survive long enough for something else to be built for Triumph.
I mean, Triumph, at this point, they need some sort of crazy miracle pickoff or an environmental. It is not looking good in the lead. Slepton very close, running away with map 1 here. Graviton in early from Cowman. They're looking to isolate to the Winston. They do just that. Primal or no, they did not care. Slepton, a quick 2 pickoffs, and Triumph just, they don't have the tools nor the utility anymore. Overtime about to tick down, and a very nice recovery from Slepton here in map 1.
My goodness, I watched Nick just get vaporized. Absolutely vaporized in that grab. He went from he tried to pop the primal, he was at full HP, he got antied, and then he just disappeared. Did a quick water cycle representation there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate where you have the entire thing. It was like, hey, I'm Winston here in the Graviton. I'm mad. It's like, we don't really care you're mad. We're just going to delete you.
And I really have to look at Slepton's, when you look at their comp here, as we look at this play of the match, I felt like they just were a lot more fluid with the meta throughout this. I think they've had a much better grasp of how they wanted to play it. They were...
Are you still there? I believe Avasa's just frozen right now, because I look at my feed, he's just sitting there. This is something that you could just caption in and of the moment. Well, that means I have the solo cast, where I would have thought I would have had the pay the debt with Jake, but is he back? No, it's still just frozen right there. So hopefully it's just a quick reprieve. It's not a 9-hour power outage as it's kind of known for. I just heard a rejoin. I still don't know if that's him. But either way, I'll focus on the match so we know he's back. In fact, I don't even have to. Production, very merciful. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, map 2 underway.
Speed freaks devour speed. Yummy, yummy speed. Speed freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the speed freak in you.
Everybody had an ocean across the USA, and everybody be surfing like California, yeah. You'd see him wearing the baggies, and Roger sandals too, a bushy, bushy blonde hairdo, surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 5 is, always take time to reset your mental. That time in between leaving spawn and arriving to the next fight is your chance to take a deep breath. Getting tilted in teamfight after teamfight could cost you the game.
Continually losing that Widow duel? Did you mute your team to avoid the cries asking you to swap? Maybe you're just feeding. Swap to another character. Now the enemy team is feeding you.
Slept On looking very strong, in control in our semifinal matchup just a moment ago, taking down Triumph in that map 1. But you know what? It's first to 3. We still got a long way to go. ZP back here with a Vast who's no longer frozen in time.
Much stronger and more control than my Discord was, I'd say, because I just got immediately, I disappeared. I don't know where I went. I got bogged a little bit, but I've made it back. And I was having a thought, I generally don't have that many of those, ZP, but I feel like I was having one. I forgot what it was since I disconnected and now reconnected. But my current thought is I wish I had a nice background like yours. Mine's all green, and yours is a lot like more professional looking.
Yes, which is incredible given how shoddily I handled things by just rotating an existing background. And luckily, it had a very good background on the side. So I looked at it, I was like, hey, this actually looks pretty good. All the more better for me. But I think before we went to break, before you froze in a moment of space and time, we were just talking about some of the compositions that are running from Slept On, where Slept On brought things back. Also, there was a huge ultimate disparity at the very end where, you know, they ran out of steam. The EMP didn't really do much for Triumph. It was something along those lines. I don't know if that helped trigger whatever monumental thought, or maybe we'll just get back to it later. Oh, yeah. I mean, actually, the thought was so monumental that I just froze him. In fact, I think whatever happened at the end of that match was such that I can never mention again. It's like what you say to freeze a Vast out. But
I made it back. I don't know what's happening. I just keep on DCing. It doesn't. They really don't want me to cast this.
No, we already figured out. We just can't talk about the end of the last match. Some eldritch horror is there that's disconnecting you. So we won't talk about it anymore. Let's look forward to the next map here, as Triumph is still looking to reverse course here, even things up 1-1.
And I think that for right now, we're going to Route 66, right? Yes. That is our second map, the old Route 66. We're going to see a lot more Ash here, ZP, I'm anticipating, and a lot more Dive.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Junkrat first point, though. You know, tire building hasn't been so great in recent times on the map. And, you know, frankly, I just think there's a good example to not play it there. But which is a long way of saying I agree with you in what we're likely to see coming up here. Although, again, you know, the jury is out because it is essentially a new meta and teams are still figuring things out.
I think I'm anticipating to see a lot more of this just Winston Hammond, maybe some Winston Diva again. It would look like that Triumph were still trying to run that double shield at points on Nepal. But it seems that the conventional wisdom currently, after the live patches with the nerfs to Orisa and Sigma, feels that those tanks aren't really that strong right now. And I tend to agree. I feel like Triumph are going to have to expand outward a bit in terms of their meta picks, and not focus as heavily on the Orisa and Sigma here, or at least not the Orisa, and maybe try to synergize a little bit more with just playing like a Sigma and a Winston, or a Sigma and a Hammond, or the Winston Zarya, which we're seeing right now. That's good, because we want to focus on space control and a lot less on survivability now that those shield tanks have been nerfed.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of feel like there's a world where the double shield could work, but you're kind of relying on whoever's playing something like the Ashe to be a god, right? Just land every shot. And because you don't get nearly the amount of time you did back when shields were way more durable.
So Slept On, gonna be on the defense first here. Playing track on the Widow Dynasty on the Torb. So it's a very anti-dive centric sort of style. They're gonna be looking to protect Moser and Carrots in the backline along the track. They're playing the double slow healer again, ZP, as opposed to Triumph on the Mercy Zen, a very dive centric comp for them.
Yeah, this is an interesting approach for sure for Slept On. I mean, for Slept On, they're just hoping to win this in the neutral game. Hope that the Torb in the back is gonna be enough. We see Track right now, just hanging back, looking for the hook shot, up over the top, and just a big old shield in the way.
Track, though, gonna find that kill. Buck going down. And this is already paying dividends right now for Slept On. They are going to get the res, but look how far back they're playing. Look how they're making sure. Track finds another kill, ZP. They need to get some pressure onto Track.
Yeah, and I mean, with shields being weaker, you don't have as much time to hide from Widowmaker. Track being very dominant thus far. Gets another pickoff. It's 3 pickoffs for Track thus far, and that's enough to break the back of Triumph.
And this is a very low healing comp for Triumph as well. They're going to swap Vigilante over to the Ana. I like that swap a lot here, because with that Mercy Zen, they're extremely reliant on just finding someone early, getting the Discord target, and diving with the Mercy. But now that they're playing the Ana, they can take a little bit more damage. They can farm a nano. They can actually sustain the damage they're going to take from Dynasty on the Torb, and maybe set up a little bit better.
Track, meanwhile, still has good line of sight. I mean, I look at this here and just wonder, is the Sombra even going to be able to effectively pressure Track with the Sport Tracks gang? See what's it diving on in. Track this time going to miss the shot, down to 35 HP. A little bit of counter pressure from the Ashe. Valen, though, had the back out. Track getting ready to go again. Just needs a little bit more on healing. Meanwhile, Triumph, they're trying to play the payload game here, Vast.
I mean, Triumph's Honor Swap already paying some dividends there as they slept Doge on the Winston. He will have the Primal up, though. They have to be careful being here in the gas. Off, though, will have a lot of energy. Bob looking to contest the point. They don't want to get caught up against this Primal Rage here from Doge.
Track, though, strikes again, finds Buck early in the fight. Now, the Resurrection's gonna come back up. You look at the difference in pressure just from Track being down for that period of time. Slepton's able to push a little bit more forward, and Triumph right now, struggling to get things going. Nick's gonna go to the back, drops a Primal Rage, but just getting chunked down the half HP and Molten Core all over the payload. It's gonna be forcing Triumph back.
Though Dynasty is gonna be picked up late. Afterwards, you see Off walking out, looking for that contest. They're going to invest the EMP, but Moser there with the trance. They're going to find nothing from this, and currently Triumph, they're still stuck in lower gas, stuck on the Mega with no movement. They need some pressure on the back line. They're not burning these tanks anymore since they don't have a Zen.
Really, really well-timed transcends from Moser, but with Carrots down in the back, oh, well, Moser's down. The support line completely devastated as Buck moves in. Triumph, a great turnabout powered by the Ashe. They do lose a lot of time in this attack here so far, but at the very least, they finally do get through point A.
That's exactly what Triumph needed. They just sat there on the cart for the longest time, hoping to maybe burn out a tank, just sustaining. They traded ults back and forth, not finding any value just yet. But Buck here on the flank with the Mercy pocket. We've seen a lot of just having the Mercy damage boost these Ashe players for maximum value. This is what they needed. They needed the angle to remove that backline to actually move the cart.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that lately, just Mercy being best friends with the Ashe, and it's because of breakpoints, right? It just makes the single shot potential so much stronger. But now, Triumph looking to keep the momentum up. We're looking at Off, hanging on to the Graviton right now. Triumph, waiting and waiting. Valkyrie gonna be up early. Buck strikes again! A little bit of revenge against Track. And Buck just can't be stopped! Both DPS down! The Ashe play is wild right now.
Taking this high ground here with the coach gun as well. Off still holding on to the grab as Valen built up towards the EMP. And this is all the ults they need, ZP. All of these ults, 3 ults available for Triumph. One of them being the grab close to the cart. Off looking to put up there on that catwalk. That's exactly what it's going to do. Do they clean up anyone? They do. They find Moser. That's it. That's what they need.
Yeah, I mean, now Moser's not going to be building a Transcendence. It's not an option. 2 already down. You just give this one up and you focus on point C, but what a turn in momentum. And a lot of it, it's all because of Buck just going crazy, landing shot after shot.
Buck getting these kills means that they can save all their ults for that final fight. They're still holding on to EMP, Mines, and Nano for Triumph. So we're getting close to a territory where Slepton should be worried, ZP. They have no tank ults. They swap Killman back to the Zarya. Off the Divas as the bomb been invested. Sure, double support. But if you just get grabbed anti-nated, you're not going to live.
I mean, the one way they could live is that they just need Track to continue doing what he was doing at the beginning of the map. But for the last little bit, Buck has had his number, so it's not going to be that simple. Valen now, setting up for the EMP, drops him back, looking for the immediate Zen pickoff. It's there. Track, though, gets the punish. Still not might be enough, as Triumph is able to just roll in after, and with tracking the pickoffs, his team is dying all around him.
There's going to be the res coming up as well onto Vigilante, so this is really good for Triumph. The Valk invested so they can go hyper-aggressive with the Bob too. There is the Trance. Uses the doors, and all this space for Triumph. This lack of initiation for Slepton means that Triumph have all the space they need.
Slepton gonna try and make a last-moment rally, already down the Ana. Dynasty in on the Doomfist, but there's no emergency pickup. It's gonna be tough. Track, though, gets 1. Triumph still pretty healthy. Track with 2. You can't let a Widow do this. If Track gets 1 more, that could be it for Slepton. Making a rally here, but Track is down. Off having none of it. Drops the Graviton back onto the payload. And Triumph just about there.
And this is going to be the cap. And I have to say, Slepton maybe asleep at the wheel there a bit, ZP. They just needed to go earlier. on that last. They needed to go earlier when they had double supportal. You know EMP is going to be up. You know mines are going to be up. You can't allow yourself to be dived on. You're going to have to just go. You're going to have to nano first, make some space. You can't let Triumph have that free engage.
Can't believe you've done this. Just can't believe you went for it. But also on the same note, I respect it. Slept on, it's kind of interesting, the strategy and how it panned out there. We're at the beginning, right? It looked really, really good. Track was landing plenty of shots, was giving Buck a very tough time. But, you know, even though Widow has the edge versus Ash to a degree, it's still something that the Ash can challenge. And, you know, Buck was doing such a fantastic job of applying pressure once Triumph just kind of settled down a bit that it seemed like Slepton struggled to get any sort of footing back. And I do wonder if that's kind of a function of the meta we're looking at now, where things are just a little bit more chaotic, where once you lose control, finding a way back in, it's just more difficult.
That is definitely a maybe not a downside, but an aspect of where we're much more reliant now on going back to Winstons and Hammonds and things like that, where if you lose space, you need to take it back very aggressively, because it's a lot harder to contest that ground as opposed to double shield, where you can sort of just set up and you can set up your halts. You can throw shields at every off angle that you might get pressured from. So losing the space early is going to be a big problem here, especially if you're going to continue to play that double slow backline. That right now, that is what Slepton's playing, is that they're playing a Xin and an Ana. So they're not very mobile, and they're very, very vulnerable to being dove.
Yeah, and I think what that really lends itself to is that when one brick sort of falls out, the entire fireplace is going with it, where it's very easy for one thing to lead to another here. And even with the Ash just getting damage boosted, you'd see that happen where Buck would go in. And once you take down someone like Track, right, who's Buck actually worrying about at that point as a threat? Really no one in a lot of these situations.
But it's going to be slept on now, moving to the offense. A pretty good time bank for Route 66 CP. Over 2 minutes for Triumph on 66. That's huge. That's a huge time bank. Not the fastest I've ever seen, but definitely very solid.
I mean, Route's one of those maps where you complete the map at all, you're still pretty happy with what you got. You're not guaranteed to finish it out. You see holds on first all the time, certainly holds on point C. Not so often on point B, but, you know, can happen. But we'll see if Triumph's defense can be just as good as their offense and give us an evened up semifinal.
Slept on continuing to move with this double slow backline. The Ana and the Xin would track on the Widow, so they're pretty much committing to playing extremely slow and hoping Track gets picks. Hoping that the damage from the Xin is going to pay off, and maybe they'll build the nano fast enough to keep someone alive. But when they're committing to being so incredibly slow, there's just a very little initiation. And right as I say that, Moser finding that early pick.
Yep, Zen getting the early pick off. Track.
Who woke up the Sombra, CP?
I don't know. I don't even think that was a duration thing. So yeah, someone might have woken it up, and it's like, but why? Track's there, can finish it off. Dynasty gonna fall, and oh, just the LMG. Track adding some extra damage there. And look, I mean, to a degree, I think having faith in Track is not necessarily the worst game plan here.
No, Track has been popping, even when he's left clicking as opposed to scoping in. Doing some solid damage there. Nick gonna be getting out. The point currently abandoned for Triumph. They need to get all their spawners back up. Look for a recontest. Nano is gonna be available off. Swapping to Hammond here, which I really like. I like going to the Hammond because there's no need to even worry about the cart, because there's very little cart presence already from Slepton. You need to get on Track. You need to get on Moser.
Well, that's also why they've now swapped Valen or to Widow. They said, okay, the Stonebar pressure is not gonna be enough. Let's try and do Widow pressure here. Track looking for the Tracer, but now Track has to keep Valen in the back of his head. Even if Valen isn't winning the Widow duels, just another Widow existing makes things more difficult.
And Track actually gonna lose that duel. The Trance gonna be invested there for Moser, but the anti-neighbor's out on Cowman. Oh my goodness, it ends just in time to heal him up. But look at the off angle for Valen. Can he get more? The answer is no.
Still able to back out, and it's hurt Slepton's push pretty significantly here. Get the primal here from Nick, and this is a really nice adaptation for Triumph, and even better from Valen. Swapping on the Widow cold is not always easy.
Oh, Nick seeing his life flash before his eyes. Though his team gonna make it back to heal him in time. Nano invested from Carrots, but not on this backline. There's no backline presence. This is just on the cart. We need to see another dive. There's that dive on the Valen and gonna pick up that frag.
Nano Winston, something we've been seeing a whole lot recently, and you know, Slepton, nothing crazy there. Just the Nano onto the Winston, good pressure into the front line, and Triumph. I mean, this is where you gotta back up. You got to take a breath and go for the reset. It's a little bit chaotic right now, but it's not enough chaos to bring it back when you're down so many.
First point going the way of Slept On. Gonna be holding onto the grab, holding onto the pulse. Really, they don't have to worry about setting it up too heavily because there's no bubbles anyways for Triumph. As though, as I say that, Valen gonna find that Widow kill, the entry onto track.
It's been pretty nice from Valen. It's been very back and forth with track here so far. I think overall Valen's ahead. So for track being such a Widow superstar, Valen is fighting him tooth and nail.
I would love to see Triumph just wait out these walls. Oh, great bubble there from Cowman, and then just set up the engage on the backline. But instead, they're gonna get caught by the grab.
Oh, not the place to chase in there. Slept On. This is where you can get real momentum, especially for point B. You're gonna get a little bit of delay here from off on the Hammond, but again, a very momentum-based meta right now, and Slept On, they're gonna keep the advantage, keep the payload moving forward. They get the late stagger onto the Hammond, and Triumph is gonna have to give up a lot of ground here.
Not only is Triumph giving up a lot of ground, they just get so much energy charge there to Cowman, and they use the mines. If they're going to stay on this Hammond ZP, they need to be finding much better initiations onto the backliner track. Right now, seems like they're just sort of cart contesting. They're getting caught by ults. There is no grab, though, for Cowman anymore. There's the nano invested.
Yeah, it's going to be in the nano onto Winston. Valen under pressure early. Nick, though, into front, and Doge's getting more done right now. It's a problem from Doge in the back. Gets more than Nick, who is nanoed. Now, Nick can drop the primal of his own, but it's just less effective. Triumph still with 5 up. And now Nick dancing around. Slept On over and in, and Slept On just a little bit of cleanup away from getting point B.
Their composition right now is just, they're just doing everything they need to be doing, while Triumph is not locking down either the backline or Cowman. Because a lot of those conditions are, okay, track, if he's popping off, we need to be focusing track. They're trying to keep the pressure on him, but now Cowman just getting constant energy to burn down these tanks. So I need to see Triumph just refocusing here. No, track gonna be picked off there a little bit early.
I like the pressure coming from Valen, where Valen was struggling to do that earlier. This time, just hops on the track of the Sombra, gets the early finish. A little bit of post-ball pressure there from Buck, and Triumph is trying to be very aggressive on the defense here, but you got to charge up Zarya and Cowman, and Triumph back out of it. They even drop the beat under pressure. Doesn't quite hit the Diva. Still moving forward, but Slept On very healthy. They still punish Nick, and look, if you're trying to drop the beat, but you still got to back up.
Cowman, just an unbelievable menace. They need to heal him, though. Make sure he doesn't go down. That energy is too valuable right now, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They keep him up. Buck, though, getting a little too aggressive, ZP. I mean, I think that was a tad bit aggressive, considering most of his team was far back. EMP is going to be available for Triumph. This EMP is going to have to be perfect. Ideally, an EMP nade to deal with the trance. That should be the initiation, or maybe even the counter here for Triumph.
Well, it's going to be more difficult. You got the infra sight up right now, so Valen is going to be sneaking on. Okay, Valen still goes for it. Drops EMP, only hits the Zarya. And Moser dropped the Transcendence response. I think it would have hit Moser, but Moser times a really well-timed Transcendence, as redundant as that may sound. And Wait. Don't think that was intentional.
Yeah, well, I think he was maybe hoping to catch someone above him, was not able to find anyone just yet, and now the big ults for Slept On are all gone. They're out of the fight, no grab, no Transcendence to keep Moser alive if they set up a nice dive. If I'm Triumph, I'm looking to set up this dive here on a Moser. Try to catch him out, try to crunch him.
Dynasty, meanwhile, Pulse Bomb set up, Slept On looking to get a little bit ult economy for free here. They take down the Lucio early. Good coordination between Winston and Tracer. And Slept On just adding on to it. Triumph and picked apart one by one. Should lead to a reset.
It's happening again here for Triumph. They're just giving up so much space to Slept On repeatedly. They're playing Winston Devo with the Lucio. They need to be taking more space. This Xin is just so uncontested in the backline alongside Carrots. Bomb gonna be invested. Is he gonna find anyone? The answer, no.
It's gonna be a slower time for Slept On if they push it in here, but Triumph still trying to drain the clock as much as possible. Graviton used, Valen on the way back in, dropping the EMP again onto Cowman. And Cowman just keeps getting hacked. Solo EMPs galore. But it's enough to give Triumph a little bit more of a foothold.
Yeah, not the meatiest EMP, but enough. It was a choice cut. Finding Cowman there, isolating him, no bubbles available, moving the energy. Getting close to a final fight here, ZP. I think this is last fight at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I might be cooking too much meat recently, but you say choice cut and cow at the same time, just thinking, well, what else can you get from the cow? But we got slept on. 40 seconds left to go, and that's a super early beat coming in from left. Triumph looking to take the initiative, and slept on was just able to disengage. We drop a Transcendence, though, from the beginning, so it's not the worst from Triumph. Both teams now support ult, and now we'll see if Track can make something happen here in this Ashe.
I really appreciate that play from Triumph, using the aggressive beat, sending Lep, I should say, not the Shanghai Dragons, though. Doge, gonna find one. Oh my goodness, the sleep. Goodbye, Buck, but still, Cowman and Doge both gone. No frontline presence here for Slepton on this cart.
Yeah, and that's a problem because there's 6 seconds left remaining. Someone's gonna need the before to touch it, and that's a late Rhine swap of all things coming in here from Slepton. Pulse Bomb out from Dynasty, into the back. Overtime starting to tick down. Vigilante dropping the nano onto the Zarya, and oh, it's so deadly. Charged up, the laser of doom around. Cowman in on the Rhine, but out just as soon as he comes in. Dynasty, though, working on the outskirts. Slepton still very outnumbered as Triumph looks to put this away. Hammond for Hammond.
Track. They haven't dealt with Track or Dynasty. Left finally going forward to get rid of him, but Track just playing the platforms here. Track and Dynasty staying alive so long for the card contest. They get the bomb up, and they might just push it in.
Off's gonna go in and ideally get the immortality field here. Builds a Graviton a little bit later, but it's just Off versus the world right now, waiting for Respawn's Graviton. Waiting, drops it on the payload. This is gonna be the rally. Dynasty lands a Pulse Bomb. EMP comes out a little bit late. Triumph still coming out of spawn. They've dealt with Doge. They team at Cowman. Left back out, drops the beats. Triumph. Did they get it in? No, they didn't. Triumph takes the map. The rally at the end, good enough.
I have to say, Triumph with some great adjustments towards the end of that map. Looking a lot more flexible here on Route 66. And the slept-on strategy of just sitting and waiting for Track to get maybe 3-4 kills at a time. I have to say, I respect the hustle, but maybe I have to get a little bit dynamic.
Yeah, that was a crazy finish. And, you know, look, we didn't quite know what to expect from the semifinal. Slept on, perhaps a little bit favored. But right now, we got ourselves a series. It's 1-1, and I'm really enjoying the sort of controlled chaos that we're getting from both of these teams right now.
We're just seeing that the value of space creation is back. Before, all space was yours. When you have double shield, you're like, I will take the space as I please. Now there actually is a lot more value associated with the real estate and how you move forward. You know, if you're going to commit your bubbles to take the space, if you're going to commit your bubbles to use for the counter dive, or you're just going to play Winston Hammond, Winston Diva. So there's a lot more options available to these teams now with this meta.
Now, just a reminder, of course, we're all enjoying the tournament, but remember who's all making it possible. That's right, FiOS from Frontier. Go to www.frontier.com to see if it's available in your area, or just type !Frontier in the chat for a little bit of guidance. Either way, it's made for a great tournament so far. We still got a lot left to go. We're taking a break. When we come back, map 3.
Speed freaks do everything. All at once, whenever they want. Speed freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the speed freak in you.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 1 is, always be ready to hit that emote key. Did you just nail the perfect shot? Take a moment. Rub it in the other team's face. Everyone needs a moment to shine. Which brings me to rule number 2. Don't glow for too long or you'll get what's coming. Be safe out there.
Maybe this time charging into the team fight will work. Oh, you should have stuck with your team. It worked last time. But don't worry, the enemy team says thanks. Feed Fest. If there's a place to try that trick play, it's here. Register and tune in for the best that Tier 2 Overwatch has to offer.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 3 is click heads. The quickest way to kill is a headshot. Move your mouse over to where the head is going and click it. Click it good. Headshots cause maximum damage and are more likely to turn the tide of your game. Boom. Easy as that. Click heads, that's how you win.
We're back in our semifinals here in the Valiant Feed Fest, presented by FiOS from Frontier. And I have to say, we got a series on our hands. It's 1-1, Slept On versus Triumph. And it's been chaos, but I've been loving every second of it.
And you know what else we have? We have matching backgrounds. Now, ZP, we have some matching backgrounds. This is the power of the green screen. The production center here is like, hey, do you want to be green? Do you want to be chroma keyed? And I was like, I would like to be chroma keyed. I would.
Yeah, I mean, why go to the trouble of setting up your own background methodically when you could just steal someone else's with the aid of production wizardry? I mean, look, production is doing incredible things, but sir, you've stolen this day.
That's just background eminent domain is what it is. We need it for the cast, and so I gotta acquire it and make use of it real quick. But it has been a crazy series so far. A lot of variety for sure. I think now that we've definitely blown up the meta of sorts, teams just figuring out exactly how they want to play. We haven't seen as much Hog Zarya as I would have liked. I would have loved to see more, but definitely still a very dive-centric style for most of these teams.
I feel like you told me differently in DMs where you're like, this Hog Zarya, I don't know about this guy.
Don't let them know. Don't let them know that I think Hog Zarya is stupid, okay? Don't let them know. You have to make people think that all the DPS players are like, oh, Hog Zarya, yeah. And everyone else is like, nope, this is bad. This is very bad.
Well, we're heading to Blizzard World next, and we'll see if your love-hate relationship with Hog Zarya, is it all rewarded by it existing at all? Right now, might be press F to doubt. But as we head into Blizzard World here, you know, we've seen a little bit from these two teams now here in the semifinal and how they're matching up against each other. And, you know, what do you expect as we head on in here? Because, you know, there's been times where it feels like Track has been taking over the game, but also, you look to the other side for Triumph. Buck has had incredible moments and at times almost feels more well supported.
Well, Blizzard World is a map where you can have a lot of space for those hit scan players to pop off. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Track sort of stick with the same style that we've been seeing of like a lot of Widow, a lot of Ashe. I feel like I'm fine with those picks. Widow and Ashe, both perfectly fine. Even McCree, they want to play it. I'm more just concerned with how they're choosing to stylistically play and sort of the backlines for Slept On. They're playing the Zen Ana comp, which is great if you have space and if you're not getting dove. But if you're getting out aggressed and if you're getting flanked, then the Zen Ana is just going to get crushed all the time.
It's a wide smile there, a wide smile. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how it does pan out where, by the way, as much as Teams Flash Genji, feel like it's gone. It's gone forever. Back to the era where people only play Genji and Spawn to remind themselves of the good times.
He's going back to the Relic Room. He's going to sit there, gather some dust. Maybe another day the DLC hero will arrive, but not this day.
Yeah, it's kind of a seasonal thing at this point. Although, wait. Hang on a second.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
That's Genji.
Yeah. He exists. He's out of the Relic Room.
And Vigilante is gone. So they are currently missing their auto player, I have to say. But they are still going to be playing a very dive-centric comp here for Triumph. And there's the pause.
I love how you say gone. I'm like, I didn't see anything in the kill feed. What are you? Oh, is my thought process there. Yeah. One of the realities of online competition. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a hit. I mean, I'd say luckily if there's going to be a DC, it's kind of better to be on the offense just in the sense that it's going to affect the game a little bit less, but it's still going to delay Triumph here by a good 20, 30 seconds.
It's unfortunate, but it's still like early enough in the round. At least no ult charge have been built either, so nothing really nothing too detrimental, I'd say, for Triumph. I do have to say that this is a comp that's sort of almost like a legacy comp. At this point, what we saw with APAC and Overwatch League, and we've seen a lot of the Mercy Ana, but now there's the Lucio Ana with Winston Zarya, Tracer Genji. That is some old style compositions and one that's going to be very reliant on getting like the blade, having the dive set up, working around the grabs. So I'm interested to see if they actually make this new nerfed Genji work for Triumph.
I will say I'm getting my fix right now where, of course, in the Overwatch League, the current patch we've been playing on, Tracer and Genji are not in the pool. So it's not really a patch. It's the hero pool. And, at times it feels like the darkest timeline for me personally. For my tastes, always love seeing Tracer and Genji in play. So here in the Feed Fest, of course, hosted by the Valiant, I'm happy to get my fix once more. It's been too long, and it's only been a week.
Hosted by the Valiant and presented by FiOS by Frontier. Don't forget that one. Don't forget that one. That's equally important.
I was leading into it, but it just set you up for it.
I know. You set him up, I knock him down. It's it's the duo synergy that we're collecting back together again here.
Yeah, I will say though, like in all the times that we've casted together, like, your sell game's pretty good, but you never quite hit the legendary levels of Hex where, when Hex is selling out, it's just kind of a moment where like you really feel like he is throwing his all into it purely for his own financial gain. It's great. It's what a sellout should be.
He's very good at what he does. Yeah, I guess so. Maybe that's a problem here. I would never make it in politics. I'm too nice. Too nice. But we are just waiting for Vigilante to reconnect here. We know what the comp they're going to be playing for Triumph. Do you remember the comp off the top of your head of what Slept On was playing? I think they're playing the double slow healer again, I believe.
I believe so, yeah. I mean, they've really enjoyed keeping Moser on the Zenyatta. And, and you're really good at Zenyatta, right? Like, Zen players don't like swapping in a lot of situations. At least I think he was on it again. It's hard to say. Don't try and, like, test my short-term memory in moments like this. It's already gone.
It's already gone. It's disappeared.
Yeah.
Vanished. We're just waiting for them to get back. I have to say that I think that for the well, actually we have news that they are ready. So hopefully we'll be getting ready to get back in very soon. We are doing just that. It is the double slow. That's what it was.
And Moser is on the Zen. All right. Dementia, you don't have me yet. But let's see. We do the big story here. We got Buck on the Genji and just getting Discord orbs as soon as he shows his face. So not necessarily an easy road for the Genji right now.
See, there's going to be the bubble and the dive up top. Nick trying to take some high ground. Doesn't want to get caught in here. is antied, is taking a lot of damage, is going to get on out. And Slept-On just playing tight around Moser and Carrots currently. Playing this anti-dive style, looking to build towards a nano.
Well, Nick ends up falling. They go to the well one too many times. And Buck was getting pretty decent build off the Winston distractions. With Nick falling, you just kind of see Buck hanging out over here, you know, a little bit pot shots, but not as confident in diving closer to the fray without that distraction.
One of the great things about this comp that Triumph are playing too is that they have a lot of win conditions. They have EMP, they have Nano Blade, they have Grab, and you can combo that Grab with anti-nades, you know, so there's a lot of options here for this composition. Already the dive comes out, Moser, gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's one downside of playing Zen. You're less mobile, and that can just happen. Now 6-on-5 for Triumph. Phelan a little bit low, Buck close to the blade, but you know, for Triumph, you'd love to do this as efficiently as possible, not invest your Nano Blade. Phelan pretty low. And they just should be going for the EMP here. They drop the EMP, it hits 3 immediately, and look at the follow-through. Tracer does not enjoy that sort of initiation, and Triumph, they just get the point outright.
I mean, I wouldn't think that was the most efficient EMP ever. Oh, nice little sleep there coming up from Vigilante, but it made sure they couldn't contest the point. You see some stagger kills coming out here for Triumph, and most importantly, they held on to Nano Blade, and they're about to have a grab. And Beat's gonna be up for left. They have so many options for this upcoming fight where if they use their ult economy extremely efficiently, just one combo at a time, they can make it all the way through.
Yeah, it's just hoarding at this point. They're saving for the winter, or just the next push. Vigilante waiting here, and it's Buck that's gonna set it up. The Nano onto the Genji, and oh, this is a little bit awkward. Force out the Transcendence, but no one else nearby, so not the worst trade here for the defense. And Slept-On, while it's going on, they punish Nick. Nick couldn't primal in time or just decide to save it, but it's not the way you want your Nano Blade to go down.
That was a rough setup there for Triumph. They definitely weren't positioned to dive either, and Doge pops the primal, batting them all away, making sure there wasn't going to be any follow-up there. So a really good trade there for Slept-On. They still hold on to the high ground. They're playing around Track and Moser here. Nano's going to be available. And that beat invested early for left.
Yeah, it's pretty early, but it works out. They used it to protect the dive on the track. Now Triumph up 65. Graviton in from off. Triumph looks to push the advantage. Nick just bouncing people around, but still a pretty decent disengage coming in here from Slept-On, but oh, that's bad. You can't lose your Tracer like that.
That was a very assisted disengage. You see the dive coming back in here again. Nick trying to find the back line, just can't find anyone yet. Gonna get picked up. And that bomb gonna find left in return. And this is looking really good for Slept-On. And I have to say, when we look at sort of what went wrong in that push CP, you talked about how great the disengage was. Well, that's because Nick gave them a little bit of assist. They did the anti-synergy there with the primal. The primal with the dive on that grab and actually batted away both Moser and Carrots from the grab, so they couldn't catch them.
Yeah, a little bit of sleeper agent tactics there. Triumph's still staying in okay time, but if this next push doesn't work out, it's gonna be hard for them. So a lot riding on this EMP coming in from Valen. Not the easiest terrain though to follow an EMP up on.
There's the EMP. Does he get the Zen off of it? He gets him.
Yep, so he's looking for Moser out of the fight. And now see the rest of the fall through is there. Buck, Blade, takes out the Ana immediately. 1 slice, 2, and that's effective enough for Triumph. That should be point B.
Great dive there. It was a risky EMP doing it just directly in front of the enemy team like that. They could have punished them if they were a little bit faster, but getting Moser early, denying that trance, following up with the Blade. So second falling to Triumph. And now here comes some stagger kills as well, but they need to make sure they don't lose off. They do. All the energy's gone, actually. That's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, if they get 1 or 2 more stagger kills, it's probably worthwhile, but it's tough when you lose a charged up Zarya. And also, you're charging up the enemy Zarya in turn here, so Buck finding himself very much on fire.
Oh, that was close.
Moment. Yeah, just like 1 second away from burning to a crisp.
Still, they got enough staggers there, and they built up some ult charge, so worth it, I guess, losing that energy. Valen, though, gonna get found by Dynasty, getting taken out pretty early off that Discord orb.
Yeah, so this is where Slept-On can build some extra momentum here on the defense. They don't have to worry about the Sombra harass, and you know, you see them know that. They just push forward, and Firms, you know, they're okay with just saying, all right, roll back up for a little bit. It's fine.
This is where Slept-On should be looking to actually go first. When Trance is up, you don't want to play reactively. You want to try to make sure to push them. You know you have something in your back pocket that if you need to, you can win the fight. And Valen, if you give him space, is going to have the EMP, going to get it set up. So this is where Slept On should be just owning the high ground, trying to do a lot of damage early, putting their tanks in a position where they can just follow up off of it.
Yeah, the problem that Triumph's been having is that Track is in a great position, has gotten early pickoffs, several fights in a row now. Now gonna head back, drop the Bob, they disengage from the beat, and Dick makes something happen though. Primal Rage deals with Doge, and Doge didn't get a chance at Primal Zone. He was hacked in the middle of it, so it was a good connection, but it's still 5-on-5, and oh, there's the grab in from Cowman. That's enough to finish things off.
I don't even think that grab was totally necessary at all. Like, they had already got several picks, they had great positioning, but finishes it off now. No grab, no chance available. And will you look at the ult charge there for Triumph? Nano Blade, EMP grab, every fight winner. And considering that their grab is gone, they won't have somebody to even lock anyone down. They need a pick early. They need Doge to maybe use the Primal Broomstick here to sweep away the Blade, if possible.
Yeah, this is all in for Triumph. EMP Blade, both supports just sliced out of this reality. And that's everything but the grab being used. The only problem here for Triumph, though, that Payload still has a long way to go of Vast. I think Slept On actually gets another fight.
They will get a recontest fight here, but it's a recontest into a grab, and there's no defensive ult available. I like the swap from Moser onto the BAP. They need this lamp. They need the lamp to keep them long enough alive so they can get the nano.
Graviton comes out. Payload, though, not being pushed for a split second. Oh, there's Buck. More slashing in off the grab, and the combination of Genji and Zarya still proving to be formidable, and you know, maybe Genji not quite headed for the warehouse just yet.
And once again, I think Slept On falling back to some old habits there. They're playing this slow composition continuously, ZP. They're not swapping off. We finally saw a different support swap, which is fine. If that's how the style they want to play, there's a lot of space to make room for Moser and for Track to play tight alongside them, but they need to be owning more space. They can't be letting Triumph get such good engages because they need all that space for Zenyatta to be doing the most damage and getting the most value out of this Harmony Orbs.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been talking about the supports the teams have been playing a lot here, and you know, this is where Moser is back on the BAP as Buck finishes things off. But for a lot of the series, Moser's been preferring to run on the Zen quite a bit. And, you know, against the type of things that Triumph has been running, you know, is the Zen something you have faith in right now, the double slow healer, or would you like to see Slept On go to something that's perhaps a little bit more evenly balanced?
Well, remember, this is buffed Zen, right? He's a little bit stronger, a little bit more vascular now. So he does have more damage available to him. So I don't mind the Zen. It's just traditionally the Ana Zen comp has been a comp tried many a time. ZP, there's been many teams have tried to make it work, and it has had some value on certain maps when you have sightlines like Gibraltar, especially like Gibraltar 1st and 2nd. But it's always been tough to make use out of because it's just so vulnerable to the dive. And I think that's where the problem for Slept On is really coming from, is the fact that they're just so vulnerable to the dive and they're just not controlling the space hard enough. If they're going to play this composition, they need to be owning the space.
Now, the interesting part, when you run it on the offense, you're even more vulnerable to the dive. The defense gets more kookier angles to set up on. You know, you're not always going to know where they're going to dive in from. So protection of the Moser and Carrots, I think, is going to be quite difficult.
See Dynasty going for the long flank here. Just looking to set up, maybe do some poke. Waiting for a Discord call here from Moser. I Slept On approach the point. Triumph playing this Mercy on us, so they have a good amount of healing. They have a lot of flexibility in terms of how they're going to peel. Dynasty making their way to the back.
Got the translocator. I don't know where Valen was at the point, but that could have been pretty deadly. Valen getting up the Discord orb, left under pressure, and Slept On just walking forward.
Oh, what?
His translocator was down. He didn't realize it. That's why he fell. It was Dynasty that got it in the back, and now Dynasty follows through, takes down the Mercy. No resurrection going to be coming in after that. And Slept On, it's a little back and forth, but overall offensively favored. And unless Buck just goes completely crazy here, Slept On is in a very good spot.
Cowman, highly charged, has that Harmony Orb and the heals. Buck very, very low. They're not pushing them though. So good point presence here for Slept On, but they haven't taken the space. Look once again at Triumph.
He was at death's door. Primal's just time, but you know, you drop the grab and go, no, no, no. You're actually dying. That's it. And Slept On, they have to invest the grab, but now they're reinvigorated. They head back to the point at full force, and this should be their point now.
I have to say, I loved how Triumph was playing that, but they just went a little too deep. They decided to chase into the areas where the rest of the Slept On backline couldn't support them. They were isolated on the point, or not the Slept On backline, but rather the Triumph backline. Couldn't support them. And Slept On just did the counter dive. They picked up those frags. They're going to get first point. And they've held on to a lot of ults in the process.
It's not a bad bank to have in reserve. Now, of course, Triumph, ooh, that's a good start. Track falling to Buck, and you're just gonna see Triumph hold here, I think, right about where the payload's about to stop here. They can hold the high ground, make things difficult for Slept On. And oh, look at this! Buck had the opportunity, but Tracer just a little elusive. Now, Bob, a little bit of stall.
Bob gonna be contesting the point. Gonna be going down shortly, though. Not a lot of health there. See, taking the fight here with the Tracer on the flank. Are they gonna win it? The EMP invested, but Moser gonna be countering that with the trans.
Buck under a little bit of pressure in the back, getting pocketed all the while. Doge, Primal Rage, extra disruption. Coming in here from Slept On and finds two. Sometimes once you don't just disrupt, you eliminate.
And I have to say, that flank fight was the downfall for Triumph there. They decided to take that fight aggressively there, look to contest the Tracer of Dynasty, and when they can, wow, what a sleep. But when they committed the EMP, they couldn't even follow it up.
The wake-up call comes in, but got Track there, still protecting, drops the Bob. Oh, gets the Tracer on top of it. And this is Slept On, getting a whole lot of momentum. Look at this, Discord Orb onto the Mercy, not where you want to be.
And it looks like the cart gonna be rolling in here. The mine's invested, but everyone down already for Triumph. And right now, Track with all this space, with the aggression from Cowman and Doge, followed up by Dynasty. This is a pretty fast time through first and second.
This is really, really good for Slept On right now. 4 minutes, 19 seconds left on the clock. They're sending just 2 people back on payload duty and just seeing if they can pick off anyone extra here for Triumph. Nick gonna leap back in. Pretty close to a primal, but getting very low in return. Moser's Discord Orb and the focus fire with it has been much better this round.
Another EMP prevalent. This is a very fast EMP. Triumph need to go early. They need to go early. They need to set up that grab, but there's the grab very quickly. There's going to be a bubble set up too to just split them.
Oh, the EMP response, but it's too late. That is one of the most tragic things that can happen to a Sombra. You drop an EMP to try and deal with the grab, but if your timing is not impeccable, people just die in the grab and you EMP for nothing.
Great initiation there from Slept On, but definitely a little bit of a misread there from Triumph. They needed to go a lot faster with that EMP. Now they don't have it for the recontest. They only have a Primal available. They're going to be walking into another Bob, into the Nano, a Primal. It's going to be rough.
It's not great. I mean, this is where you hope the Primal can be enough, but you got Nanos right now.
Oh!
The point.
Now that is, that's not good.
You know, well, there's some terms for that. Letter number really coming to mind in particular. Oh.
And I saw the logic for Triumph for what they were doing, because instead of trying to commit to the cart fight for the recontest, they were looking to split to go to the backline for Slept On, remove them, and then worry about the cart. But the problem is that the cart doesn't care if you're worrying about it. It's much like the sun. It will continue to burn, regardless if you believe that it is not that hot.
Yeah, and in that case, the cart just kept on rolling. Didn't really have to care about anything else. And as a result, Slept On has put themselves in a really good spot to take this map and be 1 map away from the grand final just a little bit later today. 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in their time bank. Triumph only at a minute. And what more can you say here? But Triumph is going to have to do this fast.
Slept On going to be continuing to run a comp, this comp, but they're putting Track on the McCree now. So no Ashe, but focusing a little bit more heavy on that counter dive. So they're going to have the flashbang available, this fan the hammers.
I think it's a smart adaptation where, yeah, Track's been great on the long range, whether it be Ashe or Widow, but you run the McCree, it's still not bad here. And, you know, I think with Moser, the plan is going to be blow up Nick repeatedly.
There isn't a lot of support for Nick off the dives other than the bubbles and maybe some heals from Lep or Vigilante. Now that Lep's on the Lucio, they'll have even less pocket for him. So looking to go fast, looking to have a counter to that grab with the beat. Let's try and approach the point here.
Leap in comes from Nick. And already, Buck just taken down. Dynasty caught him with the clip. Triumph, 5 on 6 right now. Nick going for a little bit of lead pressure. The shield already down. The stun comes in right after. And there's the focus fire onto the Winston I was talking about. They don't really care about the Zarya shield. They'll just burst on through.
And this is really tough for Triumph, is that since they're locked on that Sombra, they're not great on the neutral fight. And they're going to get a stagger kill here onto Vigilante as well, so no heal's going to even be up for Triumph.
Yeah. And now with 2 seconds left, do they even cause overtime? They do. But now it's on a whim and a prayer. They're hoping for the miracle. They've already lost their Tracer. Buck was able to touch just a moment ago. But the Tracer's down, so's the Hammond. Who's next up? It's a sacrifice to the overtime pit. Oh, it's gonna be Lucio. Lep is down. Who's next? No one else.
And it's gonna be no one. Everyone says actually no thank you.
The pit is satisfied.
That is rough. That is very rough for Triumph. They locked themselves, though, into a slow comp, ZP, by playing that Winston Zarya so they can't full commit to the dive, by playing the Lucio so they don't have another pocket available for Nick. They needed to commit to getting a hack early and then falling off the hack, but they never found one. Valen looking to farm EMP, but not getting a hack, and they just were committed to a slow fight because they had to build Nano, they had to build EMP, and they didn't build either. And as soon as they lost one, it pretty much was just done on that offense.
Yeah, and now you kind of look at the other end here, where this is always one of the most tragic parts of Overwatch, where you have to play out the round, but you look at it and fate and your own play has decreed you can no longer win. You're just hoping that somewhere out there you can see the draw. But you have to hold for 3 minutes and 45 seconds on point A on a point that's usually capped, not to win, but just to get that draw. It's not looking great right now for Triumph, I have to say.
You're going to need a very powerful telescope to see the draw here. A very powerful telescope. And I have to say that I personally do not have anything close to that level of optics. This is looking very, very tough for Triumph on the hold. They're going to be playing Buck on the Ashe. Valen back to the Tracer. No Sombra here. And they're playing Mercy Zin as well, ZP. So this is a very dive-centric composition. It's only going to be off that can contest the point effectively. There he's going to be cycle contesting, and it's up to Nick and Valen following off that Discord for Vigilante to get the picks that they need.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because you think about it, 33% is enough to win. It's not even just a normal full hold, it's the extra special full hold in a meta where no one's playing anything that's tankier in the way of just sitting on the point.
Yeah, it's really just up to the Zarya to just cycle contest on and off. I mean, Nick can roll on through, but your most value you're going to be getting out of the ball is getting onto the back line alongside Valen, following up off the Discord orb.
I got the Winston leap in here early from Doge. Triumph in trouble already. Nick down. Went for the disruption, got chased down by Dynasty. 2 already out of it, and that's it.
And they don't even touch the point.
Yep. That's a problem when you only have 33% left to give and you're not running something more traditionally tanky. That just happens.
Now losing both of their dive heroes there between Valen and Nick, getting punished and then not fast enough to touch the point after they have been punished. But it was looking rough no matter what anyways. Maybe we just ended it a little bit early off that foregone conclusion. We see Buck popping up here with the Genji. They said he was gone. They being us. And he wasn't gone.
We're going to actually take responsibility for that. We're not going to say, people just say. It's like, oh, yeah, we said.
I mean, to be fair, that was just a once in a while thing. We haven't seen that much Genji the rest of the day. So I think it's still pretty consistent with our findings.
You've changed. You have asked. Just willing to throw us under the bus, not blaming others. Unbelievable. But yeah, sometimes we can be surprised. And that was one of those times. And I'm happy for it. I love seeing Genji in play.
And slept on. They made that slow healer composition work. I think for Blizzard World, they had a lot more space. They were doing a lot better job of the counter dive as well. But Triumph still falling into some old traps of just not getting the space they needed.
Well, things are heating up here in the Valiant Feed Fest, but let's remember who's making it all possible. That's right. It's FiOS from Frontier. And you know what? For Frontier, if you're a little bit interested, you go, hey, I'd like to upgrade my internet. You can go www.frontier.com or just type !Frontier in the chat and it'll set you on your way. But for now, Slept On up 2-1 here thus far. Do they have what it takes to finish it out? Head to the grand final. We'll find out in just a few minutes.
Speed freaks devour speed. Yummy, yummy speed. Speed Freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the speed freak in you.
Everybody had an ocean across the USA, and everybody be surfing like California, yeah. You'd see them wearing the baggies, and Roger sandals too, a bushy blonde hairdo, surfing USA. Everybody's got surfing, surfing USA.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 5 is, always take time to reset your mental. That time in between leaving spawn and arriving to the next fight is your chance to take a deep breath. Getting tilted in teamfight after teamfight could cost you the game.
Continually losing that Widow duel? Did you mute your team to avoid the cries asking you to swap? Maybe you're just feeding. Swap to another character. Now the enemy team is feeding you.
The Valiant Feed Fest, so far, it has had it all. A whole bunch of chaos contained, even Genji coming back into the fray. But when all the dust is settled, it's still slept on. Up a map over Triumph, now one map away from going to the grand finals right after the series.
And right now, Slept On, they seem to be making this rather unorthodox style, I think, backline work. They're getting a lot of value. Track in particular, I mean, the guy's fragging. The guy is absolutely fragging right now on the hit scan. He's popping off. And so it's really on Triumph to try to find a solution to how they want to beat this. There should be it should be very possible, I'd say, ZP, to be removing this backline, the double healers for Slept On right now, but they're just not finding the value they need.
And I mean, I think part of it is that the lethality of the Slept On backline is also changing up quite a bit, right? Where, at times you don't see Moser get as much value, but in Blizzard World, the focus fire got a lot better. But now we look forward to our next map. It's going to be Volskaya, where Slept On's going to look to finish this out, where Triumph will be having their last stand, trying to force that map 5. And Volskaya, I mean, this is also a map that we've seen quite a bit recently, where it's gotten silly. It's gotten quite silly on Bastion, and of course I'm looking at Atlanta when I think about that and recent results, but I don't know if we'll see the Bastion here today.
Atlanta's silly for a lot of reasons, ZP, okay? There's a lot of silliness there, but yeah, it has gotten a bit chaotic, a little bit of the silliness, the silly champ, as they say. But right now, just waiting for both squads to get on in here. It is going to be map 4, and this is where Triumph need to turn it around.
Yeah, and, I don't think it's impossible that they do. I think both teams have hit moments where they've had their stride. I think that we're in a meta right now where things are so momentum-based that, it really does change on a whim. And, we'll just have to see. I do think, though, from what we've seen recently, especially in the Overwatch League, hero pools are no. And from these two teams here, it might be Widow to start things out. Although, just as I say that, you got Track showing Ashe, Valen showing Sombra. So, I mean, Ashe also makes sense. I would have liked to see the Widow, but, we'll see.
I think the Ashe makes a lot of sense if they're going to play this. They're still going to play this backline style here because you need someone to be able to babysit your backline a little bit. And Widow's not going to be the person to do so. It's much more sensitive. It's going to be an Ashe. Because
wait, what?
Well,
no.
Carrots? Carrots?
If I'm the offense, I just go.
The money has been deposited into the account. Thank you, Carrots. Triumph Gaming appreciates your support.
Oh, man, that can't happen, ever. What a terrible position to be in for Slept On. Now, they still can adapt. They can wait for the on to get back, but they have to give them so much room for free early here. Triumph about to pick up a tick for free as Slept On is finally ready to fight. Heading back over. Tick not yet gained here. So close. Good so far. Now, though, they got it. Buck just shooting here from the back.
Really polite of Triumph to allow them to let the second healer arrive and to give Cowman a million energy. This is very, very gentlemanly from them.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta be manner, right? Old StarCraft rules from back in the day. And Slept On, they get away with it. Carrots can wipe the sweat from his brow over what could have been impending tragedy. And now, quick nano boost on the Doge, and Triumph gonna have to run away from this one.
Oh, the cleave! Doge finding them both. Lep not able to find a target to Guardian Angel away to. And he gets them both with that nano. What looked like a great escape from Buck turns into disaster. Slept On after that nano, finding all the picks they need, winning that fight. And even with Carrots plunging into the great beyond, they have managed to win this first.
I love the inevitability about that, where, the best part about that play for Doge was holding his W button and just walking forward and eventually getting into taser range. Works out. Triumph, though, resetting. It might be giving the same treatment over here, the Slept On. Nano boost, good to go here from Vigilante. Nick, waiting to be electrified.
Right now, Triumph, they really want to build this nano. Ideally, they drop the nano onto Nick. He's going to look to force maybe the trance early, but nothing forced yet. There's that trance force.
But while the Transcendence comes out, Dynasty got to the back, dealt with the Ashe, tracked a little bit, follow through, and As Jake likes to say a lot, Tracer, that's a pretty fast respawn. Get me back to the fight soon. That's a good trade for Slepton, but that's a little bit more dicey. Losing your Winston lane to the fight, they might have to give up another tick for that one.
Lep gonna be the one to punish Doge there as he went for the dive on Vigilante. Nick coming back with the primal. Hammond gonna be up for Doge to get it back here quickly, but EMP about to be up for Triumph. No trance available for Moser.
Doge almost back into the fight. Onto the Winston, or onto the Hammond, I should say. Nick, meanwhile, getting pummeled on the side, half HP. Doesn't want to use the primal until absolutely necessary. Off close to the graph, same for Cowman. And Triumph just waiting. They open up with the EMP. It's pretty beefy. Hits 4. But Slepton just able to filling it up. The fall throw is there. Now the Graviton comes back out. Off in danger. Taken on down. Dynasty with the bomb follow through. And Slepton surviving. It was just a follow through there.
There was just absolutely none. Yeah, there was 0 follow through. I mean, we saw that Nick had been set up. He had the primal there. He was diving on the stairs after it was a 6-man EMP from Valen. Valen perfectly, beautifully set it up. Nick was there, but no one else, not a single other member of Triumph was in position. They were hoping that Valen and Nick could do it alone, and they were not able to.
Final fight coming up here for Triumph. If they don't get point A, the road to the grand finals is going to be long indeed, because they would have to full hold the turn to avoid getting eliminated. And look at this, Dynasty nearly getting the 1 clip. Now going over to the Mercy. The support pressure is big. The Winston coming in from the front takes down the Mercy. Dynasty still not able to get in onto the Ana, but Doge gonna finish what the Tracer sets up. Slept on a little bit wounded, but still enough on the point. Triumph on their last legs here. Don't think they have much left in this offense. We'll see what they got. Diva gonna get D-Max. Valen, down he goes. Track with the finish. And well, still winnable. Draw, not really quite likely. But holding first, I've asked for 4 minutes to that percentage, pretty difficult, even though it just happened here.
My optics are not strong enough. I mean, it will actually, it's a little bit there. My optics might be calibrated to see this one for the telescope, for the draw telescope here. But for unlike Blizzard World, I was like, definitely not. But this is actually a lot more possible.
Triumph got 57.3. Like, they'll win if they're able to hold long enough, unless you get like the crazy I don't know, you have to actually be in outer space connected to the successor of the Hubble telescope to see the 57.3, the 57.3 draw. Like, that would be wild. But I still don't think it's ideal for Triumph here. I mean, they need the fuller hold.
Looks like Triumph gonna be running this Mercy Ana again. I like the Mercy Ana for this map. Playing Ashe, Tracer, you know, that's a pretty standard composition for what we're currently seeing with that Winston Zarya, the Tracer, and Ashe. But track on the Widow. Now, Widow here for the offense makes a lot of sense. We've seen tracked Widow. It's been devastating at points. There's a lot of space for the Widow to take.
I also wouldn't mind seeing the Sombra here either. When you know you only have to win one fight, I mean, obviously the EMP doesn't guarantee it as we saw last round, but
yeah, I wouldn't mind the Sombra, but considering that Slepton hasn't seemed to prefer the Sombra at all, gotta play with what you're good at. If they feel that they would prefer to just put track onto the Widow and play Dynasty on the Tracer, I think that's perfectly fine. They have a lot of options, a lot of time to just make it work. They just need a couple picks.
Yeah, I mean, they could just kind of throw themselves at Triumph multiple times and, you know, one good fight, all it's gonna take. Meanwhile, Triumph, they're fighting for their right to stay alive here in the Valiant Feed Fest, presented by FiOS from Frontier. We'll see if they have it in them. Otherwise, Slepton going to be heading to the grand finals. From the toe on the point is Cowman. A little bit back and forth, chasing the Winston in. One pickoff already there. Track starting it off. Slepton now again real close. Hopping onto the point. The pressure is big, Avast.
I think the pressure has now broken it potentially here. They will get the res, that's huge, but considering Lep and Nick are both dead, this is full point control here for Slepton, and I think this is gonna be the map.
That's gonna be it. Track puts Triumph out of their misery. Slepton heading to our grand finals in just a little bit. Good series though, really enjoyed the back and forth. Slepton though, just more of a complete team, and you gotta give it to the veteran leadership here. Fact, fiction, gods, both the architects and the coaches, they're put together something special here, I really feel.
And I have to admit, I mean, the blood sacrifice for Carrots, I was doubtful. to do the blood sacrifice for the win of the map here in the match, but it worked out. Once again, the ancient gods are sated, and well done to Slept On, moving here into the grand finals. Really just built around getting some very solid pickoffs there from Track.
Yeah, and that's one of those things as a player. Anytime you have just a catastrophic mistake, you just hope that you win the map, because then people can forget about it, right? No one's going to remember Carrots falling off into the water aside from his teammates in all likelihood. But, beyond that, the public will forget. If Triumph had made a crazy comeback here and won the series, you'd never live it down.
No, that would be extremely tragic, I would say. But Slept On looking like a very strong contender going into the grand finals.
You know who's also a strong contender and something you should really consider? Well, that's right. It's FiOS from Frontier. You can go to www.frontier.com to see if you can upgrade in your area, or just type !Frontier in chat to set you on your way. But, we're not quite taking a break just yet. We do have some replays from what we just saw, because it was a pretty fun series. Some big moments happening. All in all, you take a look at this. This
I love this. I love this opener from Doge. Just waiting to get the boop and immediately gets it. Feeds one to the pit.
Yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices, as it turns out, in this.
There was. But I mean, that's sort of the power of, like, I think once the tank roll is unshackled from its chains, like, once we no longer think of it as, it's like when you move your number systems, instead of going from like a base 10 to like a base 12, like that's main tanking. That's just tanking in Overwatch. Is like, once the risk is gone, and even also in some ways Reinhardt and Winston, you can just sort of play a lot more ball and look for the environmental kills.
Yeah, I mean, things definitely become more free flowing, and I feel like Overwatch always goes from one extreme to the other, right? We've seen GOAT, which was kind of the ultimate MOBA expression from Overwatch, right? As close as you can get to in an FPS game. And now you go to a meta like this, and it's a lot more free flowing, where you have more open sight lines, you have a lot less shields, and as a result, you get more chaos and more crazy comebacks like what Buck just did there.
Yeah, off angles were always very valuable. I would argue they were even more valuable before because you had to get around shields. But now they're still very powerful. You also are so reliant on these mercy pockets for this new Ashe. Now that Ashe can sort of just one tap a lot of heroes with a damage boost, that Ashe is just going around the side, finding value here, are going to continue to be a difference maker for squads.
I just kind of feel like Farah's just upset at this point. Mostly with Mercy going like, we used to be best friends. What happened? And just turns out Ashe and Mercy, the new BFF duo.
I mean, Farah should be upset for other reasons too, since Echo is in many ways just better Farah at points, considering that you're more mobile, can do more burst damage, and can also just have an ult where you get a second life and get another ult. So and also your ult is not an instant death most of the times, unlike Barrage.
Yeah, but I mean, she did get a new skin in the Summer Games Fest. So.
Oh, that's true. So true.
Yeah, you gotta look to the bright spots here, but yeah, all in all, it's interesting to see what's being played. Ashe coming into her own, where it's funny because at one point Ashe wasn't super favored by players, and part of it is that she did get buffs, but there's also a part of me that's always felt like it's been a strong hero. It just took the right environment for players to finally truly commit to playing her a little bit more often. But you know what? This is where we decide we're going to take a breather. When we come back, the grand finals will be underway.
Speed Freaks devour speed. Yummy, yummy speed. Speed Freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the Speed Freak in you.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. There are a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 4 is don't feed. Don't feed. Just don't do it. Don't be the Ryan that charges into the enemy too soon. Don't be the Ryan that goes for 360 shatters. Yeah, Gig, I'm looking at you. If you're playing Mercy, don't try and res me in front of 6 enemy players. Don't feed. Just don't do it.
Wait, I'm not in the game. Wait, what?
Hey, what is this?
Oh!
What does dash do?
That's the same as deflect. Oh. Oh my god. Oh, what?
Is there a bot in here? There's a dude named Genji.
Easy.
How do I just kill someone?
Oh!
Oh my.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just dashing.
What is that?
It's a 1v1.
Music's freaking out.
Oh, he's crazy. Oh, wow.
Champion.
In a world with levers, disconnects, Ranked deserved a hero. Jeff was just an everyday Overwatch player when tragedy struck. We called in McGravy, our Mr. Reliable, to save the day. Mr. Reliable is the teammate you need, and with Frontier's 100% fiber optic network, you can be your own Mr. Reliable.
Hey guys, I'm McGravy, and I'm here with Captain Awesome, and we're gonna jump into a game and trying to get some quick W's. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, cool, good.
Hey, that's all right. Pushing your limits, pushing your limits.
Oh!
I'm on the flank. I'm on the hunt.
Oh, look at you go. Holding down the fort.
Holding down the fort. I'm Mr. Reliable, you know, I gotta do my job.
Yeah, you do.
Gotta do my job.
I'm hot.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Easy W's. Easy wins. Thanks for watching Mr. Reliable, presented by Frontier Communications, and we'll see you next time.
These are the rules to winning Overwatch. Rule number 7 is, get some heals. Healers, stop chasing kills. Keep your DPS alive. And DPS, stop pushing away from your supports. Protect your healers. That's how you win.
Someone said Gig looks like an angry bird.
I don't know how to spectate this game.
In the spawn.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, there's stuff happening over here. Oh.
Yo, I have a headache already.
I just mute my sound whenever I play this game. I'm actually the best at Tiny Overwatch though.
Why'd you die then?
Cool. Bro, stop walling
I'm making
me.
that comeback, bro.
I just realized Gig is muted.
He's been talking this whole time.
I am muted.
Really?
I knew it.
Good looks. I'm far with you kids.
How's the hair growing out?
It's bad. I need a haircut right now.
Yeah.
Shave it all.
Yeah, you can give him a gravy to cut it.
Me bald? I'll look good bald. I got a good head.
Because he switched.
Oh,
like,
you guys get it fragged
already.
out. Woo! Oh my goodness, get off of me, kids.
Man, Mercy's the most OP of it all. What the?
Yeah, it actually.
Bro, wait, what?
Wait, Mercy. Mercy is 100% the most OP hero.
No, it is.
It's actually ridiculous.
It has been a journey to get here, but the grand finals of the Valiant Feed Fest, they are here, and it comes with a little bit of a grudge match here at Vast, where heading into it, it's going to be Slept On taking on Odyssey, and Odyssey, given that they fell to Slept On back in Contenders in July, you got to think that they want this time to go a little bit differently.
Of course they want the revenge, and now they want to do it in the chaos meta with us casting them. Of course, it's all the perfect factors. I mean, we're all coming back together here to see the revenge story And you know, despite what we had a talk earlier before the match began of like Rhino apparently being an old wrestler's name. And the thing here is that I was going to connect this point and I forgot what I was going to do with it. So actually, the real point I was going to say is I'm very excited for the grand finals.
Fantastic filler statement. Now let's look at something more substantial like the bracket to remind people how we got here. Classic. Old Avast would not have forgotten. That's
true. That's very, very true.
You take a look at it, slept on, of course, fighting through Kratos and Triumph. Triumph getting through Drifters before eventually falling. Other side of the bracket, Karasuno, long contenders mainstay, falling to Odyssey. Square One, a team we've casted a bunch, taking down the new iteration of Revival. Not quite getting through Odyssey, and leads us to the final two teams, which is slept on, taking on Odyssey.
Well, Square One and Second Wind, if they were here, but they're just sort of disbanded, I guess, because they get picked up the Titans and everything like that. Like all those teams, we've cast them a lot, but they're sort of just shells. You know, it's like a hermit crab where a new roster moves in each time. So it's not they're there, but it's not always the same squads. I don't think we've ever actually casted that particular Square One lineup, I believe. But yeah, they are a mainstay of the contender scene. But our grand finals is Slept On versus Odyssey in the grudge match. And I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. Odyssey looked pretty good earlier in the day, where, by the way, you'll get your wish. I think we are going to be seeing Hogzari because of something Odyssey was running.
Yes, I am very, very excited to see the actual flank only composition. You know, who needs main tanks? Who needs any sort of sustain? Because I am Roadhog and I can run around and hook people.
Well, not Odyssey and perhaps not on Oasis, at least some of the stages. I'd expect University to see that come out because lots of room to flank. We'll see just how it pans out. Of course, we're not guaranteed to go to University. It might not go to 3 one way or another, but
I would also think that comp would be kind of rough because there's a lot of high ground in parts of Oasis, and I don't want to be Roadhog just sitting on high ground being relentlessly farmed.
No, definitely not. But Oasis is going to be the first map that we're heading on into, and I'm excited. And remember, this is still a first to 3 grand finals or no crazier first to 4 here today. Just got to be clean, win the few games that are in front of you, and take home the title of the Feed Fest champion. But without context, people go, really? You fed that much?
Well, I mean, if Roadhog Zarya is being played, then maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe. It depends. I mean, also, it's sort of like the meta at points, so it's technically not even that much of feeding. I've heard that it's sort of described as a support's worst nightmare, where your whole, and even a main tank's, where your whole job is just don't get destroyed. Literally just try to live as long as possible and hope for the best.
And also...
Wait, there it is! There it is!
Yes, the prayers have been answered!
Really, the comp we've all been waiting for.
The Doom! Oh boy.
And that's a BAP Ana. Look at their backline too, a BAP Ana. So they're not going for a highly mobile support comp with like Mercy or Lucio. They're playing a very static support line with a very flanky rest of their team, since they're playing Tracer, Doom, and the Hog Zarya.
I think their hope is that they're going to be creating so much chaos that the supports will be okay. Zip Anton. Okay, well, Roadhog's sleeping and Tracer is dead. Not the best start here for Odyssey. And the Bio nade, making sure Roadhog doesn't heal back up. Really nice execution coming in from Slept On there. And, Carrot's redemption after his icy bath just a series ago.
Well, Luke Mino gonna fight Dynasty there at the end, but that was a pretty decisive first fight there. Because they find that early sleep. They get the early kill on the Dove as well. Cowman very charged up, 50% already to the grab. And Slept On playing this comp we've seen him play before in the semifinal right before this. With the Tracer, with the Ashe. So a lot of damage here on the field. And Odyssey, they need to find a way to find some hooks. Maybe to get the Doom and the Tracer onto the back line.
Well, the hook misses, and Roadhog doesn't care. Roadhog still moves in, goes for the right clicks from range, looking for the sweet spot. And you look at the respect that's given to Odyssey, but Slept On, they wait, they re-engage, and immediately take down 3. And I think the one thing you got to take from this composition matchup here of Avast is that these fights will not be long. One team is losing dramatically, one way or another.
I mean, I think once the supports are sort of gone, then I think there's a chance it can get very crazy, you know, once it gets broken down. You know, Hog and Zarya running about with Tracer and Doom. But currently, I loved how Odyssey tried to set it up. They swapped to the Lucio into the BAP to try to find them, and then get the point control, set up the window, but slept on. They get the high ground, they just crunch on top of them, and when you don't have any actual damage mitigation tanks, you just fall over.
Oh, look at this. The Graviton setup from the low ground to the high. Cowman making it easy for the rest of his team, and Track just came around the flank. Beautiful stuff here from Slepton.
Now the trance was forced there, which is great for Odyssey, considering that they're building up towards that grab soon, and Malthul will have the Doom ult, so there won't be any escapes from Moser. But Slepton gonna be holding on to the Primal. We'll have both the DPS ults available. And Odyssey gonna have to make one final push here, get some point control.
Gotta land
not gonna find anything. Yeah, they just haven't gotten a hook yet.
Yeah, I mean, the hook is the one thing that kicks it all off, but you don't find the hook, and it just feels bad. Just like getting jungled by Winston in the corner, where you don't have a great meat response. You're gonna whole hog here from the side, and here, just take it down. Track is putting on so much damage. 3 from Track between himself and the Bob. And Odyssey, I don't know. I feel like they got figured out there.
Looked really, like that was the most ranked game of Overwatch in competitive Overwatch I have seen in a bit, where I watched Rhino fearlessly flank his Hog, never get a hook, and then pop the ult in the low ground and just fall over. The comp doesn't work unless they're gonna get some hooks. It looks like they've already made some swaps here. They're gonna put Rhino onto the ball. They're looking like they're gonna get maybe a Genji as well. Oh, it's gonna be Sim, but still, this is already looking far better to me, CP.
Yeah, I mean, also just remember the stage run where we kind of called out to begin with, or I called out. I'm taking the correct because I called it out about University being the stage that tried more flanking. But you called out here that City Center, yeah, you really don't want to do it here.
So full dive here for Odyssey, running that Lucio, Ana. Slept on, still sticking with the comp. That's sort of been their bread and butter. Though actually Cowman will be on the D.Va, which I like that a lot here for City Center. You can utilize all this high ground, move the D.Va back and forth. There's that dive coming out from Odyssey.
Ooh, Track picking up where he left off, just assassinating the Genji where he stood, aided by the Zenyatta. And now slept on an advantage. Gonna take it over to the point, and you just gotta keep looking at Track here. And of course, as I say, that Track looking for a line of sight. Rhino just having to roll away, and you know, gonna have to be a little bit more careful on the ball. No self-heal. Track though under fire, 1 HP and down. They'll be able to finish him off, but still, fight's not over yet. Slept on the quick avenging of Track there.
Man, I can't help but feel that if Malthul was playing old Genji, he'd have Blade by now. He'd have Blade by now. He's in such a good position. He's hitting great dashes, but still only 80%. They just weren't able to find these frags fast enough. Track was a little bit far forward, and they picked them off. But the problem there is that Odyssey had to commit so hard for the rest of those kills that Slepton just punished them. And really for Odyssey, if they're going to play this composition, they need to be getting a lot more effective dive ZP. They're playing Hammond and D.Va, so they need to be isolating this backline for Slepton. They will have Nanoblade coming up, though.
Yeah, but here's a problem. Do they even realize Dynasty is here, setting up for the surprise pulse bomb? I've seen it so many times before here in Overwatch, and oh no. Target acquired, looking for the Ana. And oh, this is where you're like, no, you're not even worthy of the pulse bomb. I'll try and one-clip you, and I'll fail. Then I'll get out-dueled by the Ana. Oh, not quite clean at all here from Dynasty. The health pack comes in, finally gets the Ana. Nearly blows himself up with his own pulse bomb, but I guess overall, good enough. It's okay.
I mean, he took 2 people out of that fight. He removed the Ana and the Tracer. So all things considered, that's not terrible value at all. Odyssey investing that bomb. Still, contesting this point here. Cowman, 1 HP on the mech. Gonna have to drop the bomb now. Wait, Dove dies to that? Uh-oh.
Yeah, Dove thought he was safe. He wasn't. Clipped by the smallest of margins. And you just gotta look at the progress here. Slepton is yet to give up control of the point. They're at 60%. Odyssey, they're running out of time to make anything happen.
And during that fight as well, the Nanoblade never got used. The Blade's gonna be coming out right now. No, Moser! He goes to the right click. He reflects Malthul with 3!
Genji, I love to see it. The Blade finally striking deeply here from Malthul, aided by the deflection. The problem is, though, is that they're gonna get control, but they still have to go quite a ways forward to really turn this one around.
Yeah, a lot of bank ticking down there, and that's sort of the power. That's sort of how these fights are going to work a lot of the time when you're running this dive-centric tank comps. Is that you can cycle contest for a very long time. Dove gonna pick up Dynasty in the back alongside Rack Attack. Odyssey moving forward here with this man advantage. Do they still have no ults in the bank ZP? They need to find another early frag ideally to make sure this Nano and the Bob does not get a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, they have to do something to keep Slepton still staggered because a storm is brewing. It's going to start out here with the Nano on the Doge. So, fight starting to break out here. Track, and then drop the Bob under pressure. Nano still in reserve. Slepton biding their time, but Diva, Hammond, both down the front line, decimated, and they still have the Nano here, Vast. They haven't even used their full power.
Oh, I love Club Bouncer Bob there. Track, just dropping the Bob is sort of an anti-dive turret. And it works. I mean, it pays dividends. I really like that move because Bob doesn't miss. Bob's pretty healthy there. And since Odyssey were on a full dive comp, it's able to just take their squishies out of the fight for a bit. Taking up to 90% here for Slepton. They're still holding onto the Nano, about to have the Primal. So Doge is going to look to go deep, but there's not really a lot of dive targets there.
No, not really. And here's the Nano coming on in. The Primal still in reserve. A little bit of disruption onto Doge, but now gonna leap back over. Doesn't want to leap into the explosion, but just juggles the Diva, prevents the remake, and clean Winston play from Doge as Slepton just taking care of business.
Slepton keeping their backline alive throughout all of this. And we have to point out again here is that as the staggers come up for Odyssey, is it done yet? No, not entirely, but it is looking grim, and that is going to be it. First map going the way of Slepton.
Yeah, and I just look at this. I think back to the previous series where Odyssey had a lot of success with the Zarya Roadhog, and we're debating, okay, how viable is this? You mentioned the fact that this is the terror that's dominating ranked right now. It's super scary, but it's getting tested right now. It's really getting tested.
And we go back once again to this crux of like when you're playing a dive comp versus the backline of Slepton. You need to be punishing them. You need to be punishing them. You need to be having so much more space. I mean, I saw at one point, Odyssey, at the end of that map, were playing Lucio Moira dive. So they were not afraid of any dives themselves. They were playing no heroes that were static. It was all based around collapsing onto the backline of Slepton. And there were still very few times they got opening picks. And I feel like that's the most incredible part about how Slepton is playing, is that they're playing healers that should be extremely susceptible. You put down a bubble, and the Ana can't heal the Zen. You have a Matrix in the front of the Ana's face, the Ana can't heal the Zen. So there's so many ways to isolate them already just with your tank line, or if you were playing Hammond, you boost them up, but they're just not going down, ever.
No, and I mean, I think a lot of us that Slepton is well coordinated, and you look at their trend throughout the tournament, they're speeding up. But you can also speed up on your own. That's right. Just take a look into FiOS from Frontier. Go to www.frontier.com or just type !Frontier in the chat. It'll hook you right up. It'll speed up your day. It'll be all the more better for it. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the grand finals continues.
Speed Freaks do everything. All at once, whenever they want. Speed Freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the Speed Freak in you.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 1 is always be ready to hit that emote key. Did you just nail the perfect shot? Take a moment. Rub it in the other team's face. Everyone needs a moment to shine. Which brings me to rule number 2. Don't glow for too long or you'll get what's coming. Be safe out there.
Maybe this time charging into the team fight will work. Oh, you should have stuck with your team. It worked last time. But don't worry, the enemy team says thanks. Feed Fest. If there's a place to try that trick play, it's here. Register and tune in for the best that Tier 2 Overwatch has to offer.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 3 is click heads. The quickest way to a kill is a headshot. Move your mouse over to where the head is going and click it. Click it good. Headshots cause maximum damage and are more likely to turn the tide of your game. Boom. Easy as that. Click heads, that's how you win.
Slept On has a message for Odyssey. No silly business. Keep the Hog Zarya away. We got the answer here in the Valiant Feed Fest. And, you know, I have to say, that was a very dominant performance from Slept On.
It was. I mean, they tried to pull out the Genji and again had some good blades, but still not getting as much value as you wanted. Odyssey now searching for answers in an Odyssey of their own here versus Slept On as they move into, I believe, Junkertown is our second map. So I'm predicting a lot of Widow about to be played.
Now, there was a funny part here that we can say because both teams know it since the other team had to hear it, is that Odyssey thought the second map was going to be hybrid, and they tipped their hand entirely. They said, we want to go to King's Row. And then they were informed by our admins that it just wasn't possible. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that should Odyssey win this map, and we go to the next map after, which is hybrid, that it would not be King's Row, because why would you pick your opponent's map choice? It just doesn't make any sense.
Classic mistake there for Odyssey as we move into Junkertown. I am predicting, like I said, a lot of snipers to come out, at least the Widow. Probably. This is also another map where the Hog actually can work. If they are going to play Hog is there's a lot of flanks. There's a lot of options here to just like play silently, play stealthily, look for a hook opening, and just flank around, try to get some picks on the back line. Just have to see how the enemy teams are going to play it. Slept On probably going to be playing their double slow support. That's what they're going to be doing here. Actually playing BAP Zen versus the Ana Zen, which I find surprising because the sight lines are so strong. But now it makes sense. Look at that. Orisa Hog, the Halt Hook, back here for Slept On. Now that Baptiste makes a lot of sense because they are going to be looking for Halt windows and for other things to get a lot of value from that combo.
Meanwhile, you got the semi main tank setup here coming out from Odyssey. It's not quite Zarya Hog. It's gonna be Sigma Hog, but still pretty Hog focused, and Rhino needing to be the first one to really set something up.
So Odyssey are playing BAP Moira while playing Tracer, Reaper, Hog, Sigma. So there's no speed for this Reaper, and you're playing BAP to heal your tanks to get them out, but there's not really anything to synergize with the BAP because you're not playing hit scan or you don't have a halt. So a very interesting composition for Odyssey right now. It's tough to find synergy.
Dynasty having to drop the ice block. Everyone piling in. and Ice just gets melted down. Odyssey, they take control of the room, and now, I mean, this is a composition of Ast where you just kind of run at him once you get an advantage.
I mean, I guess they will have this running and continue. Malto going up to the higher ground, takes the TP, finds Track. You see Moser gonna go down to Luke Mino, and right now the cart not stopping, continuing to move, and off of that early pick and that fight in the room, which really I don't think should have been possible, ZP. They have a Mei, they have an Orisa, they have a BAP. I don't see how they win that fight in the room, considering all the utility they had available to them, but they did. They got that wall out early, got the ice block out early, and now Odyssey move into second.
And part of second here is just giving Malfell looking to set up something sneaky here in the Reaper. Off on an Odyssey of his own. I mean, hey, it's in the team name. Makes sense, right? Slept on. Meanwhile, setting up on the defense. Hook comes out. Shield blocking it over. Malfell, runs into the middle fine, but immediately removes it. Dynasty, though, finds Sigma, and I mean, Malfell's just not in this fight right now.
Malto still on the flank though. Dove gonna go up top, find Moser, but still a lot of heals on the field for Slept On. Track gonna find one. The high ground proving extremely dangerous to Odyssey right now. Not only is this high ground very strong normally when you have a lot of shield tanks, but considering Odyssey are playing one shield tank, it's a lot harder to mitigate this damage.
I have a question here. We've just watched a Reaper just walk round and round and round. Bear in mind, the hero can teleport. Did Malfell just try to be a little bit too sneaky there?
Maybe being a little bit too sneaky. That is a very strong possibility. As now Odyssey coming back in here, sending Vulcan up to the high ground. The window going to be invested from Luke Mino. Not finding anything just yet. And it's actually the orb finding carrots.
Yeah, catches them on the backside. Now the healing not really there aside from the transcendence. Oh, that's a way to even it up. Both supports down. No. All right. Reaper still alive, but not for long. Great reaction there from Track.
Goodness, Track just broke some ankles there. Track now looking again here for Dove. Oh, doesn't hit the shot. The recall is going to come out. And while this is happening, there's still a fight going on a point as Cowman finds two.
Yeah, Cowman just whole hogged and just annihilated the front line of Odyssey. And Cowman's having a good game.
And you see the power of that buffed Roadhog there as well, because Cowman off that flank. And what should have been sometimes with pre-buff Roadhog, not necessarily a guaranteed kill on Luke Mino, removes him from that fight. And Odyssey going to have to come back in here, approaching from the low ground. Slept On just playing tight around the cart. They do have double support ults here, as Vulcan's going to invest the Flux.
Flux out early here from Vulcan. Slept On still very, very healthy. They had to burn the Transcendence in response. Oh, look at that! Malfell in the back. Drops the Death Blossom. This time the sneakiness rewarded. That should be point B here for Odyssey. That's just a little bit too many falling for Slept On.
That was a great setup there for Odyssey. And I have to say, they used the Flux to remove the lamp, but also somehow got the trance from Moser as well. So both of those mitigating ults, the defensive ults, I mean, I guess one of those is a cooldown, but it's really an ult on cooldown with the lamp. They removed them both, set up Malto to set up the Death Blossom. And that was kind of a little bit of overcommitment, I'd say, for Slept On by pretty much overlaying those ults. And now Malto once again set up here on the higher ground. Let's see if he's going to be scouted as the window's invested, forcing Slept On to back up.
Yeah, Malfell needs to find the right time to go in with the rest of his team. He was a little bit disjointed before. Oh! Well, not the right time to teleport. Track finds him early. The Reaper threat gone. And now Odyssey doesn't have a whole lot of punch behind their assault. The pulse bomb gets on the carrots, but still a long way to go. Oh, look at that. That's filthy.
Track's Widow is doing some incredible things right now. Gonna find another as well. Luke Mino going down. Can he find Rack Attack? He cannot. But now Slept On taking control of this high ground. Bongo gonna be available. They're also going to have, this double shield coming out from Odyssey, which I actually think is, is the right call, simply because reapproaching to this point versus the double hit scan and the halt hook with the Xin, it's so much damage, CP. It's an incredible amount of damage, so they need some mitigation to move through this high ground and all the damage present for Slept On.
They also just need ways of hiding from Track at this point with how devastating he's been. But Cowman is also a huge threat. I mean, Malfell can't catch a break here. Malfell goes in the back, gets sniped, gets hooked. You got Cowman whole hogging the point. Sometimes now I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, maybe not the Reaper, because Malfell is getting caught more times than not at this point.
So there's 3 ults invested for Slepton, including that supercharger. Still will be holding on to the support ults here, so they have some options. Oh my, please. Malthal, help him. Help Malthal. Save him. He just wants to build another Death Blossom ZP. He's 63%. All he wants is one more. Just another Death Blossom, please. His Rack Attack now actually going to the Mercy to pocket Dove, which I feel is a little bit more flexible option. They can test his higher ground, can test track a bit more.
Well, Malthal will be back to the fight soon. Flux in early here from Vulcan. Dynasty dropping the down response. They actually get the Arista. Shield was broken, but the Flux is still done enough. Malthal has gone to the point without getting sniped or hooked. And Odyssey starting to get a little bit of momentum now, but Track is back in it from the back, deals with Dove. Odyssey still getting good payload push, but I'm not sure Track cares. 80 HP in a Dream. That immediately ends.
Finally breaking through there with some great picks. Malthal, though, going to the backline, about to have this coveted Death Blossom. As Dynasty goes Doom for this recontest. Slepton exiting out. They need to find a pick. They need to dislodge Dove as well, as that window is invested for Lukemino.
Dynasty down. Malthal spinning the win it. Now, going for the teleport mid-fight. Track out of the fight. Good damage coming in from Malthal this time around. And Odyssey, they find their groove a little bit late. Get it in with 1 minute and 3 seconds. For hybrid, that would count a lot more, but it's escort. Still a good time bank, but no 1 minute distinction the way you would usually have.
Finishing Junkertown is always a blessing, especially when it looked like a brutal hold was coming in here for last. Some unconventional synergies for Odyssey, I'd say, but it definitely worked out. Slepton now moving to the offense. Is that a Bastion? Do they commit to the Bastion, perhaps? The pirate ship? Protect Mr. President?
Yeah, honestly, I just think back to this. It's my fault for the Bastion coming out here. Well, it's half my fault. There was an ancient prophecy that I ever cast with Josh who would just unleash chaos upon the world. And then Bastion was played. He was brought back into existence. And now we look at Slepton right now. Bastion is coming into the fray. And, you know, I just apologize to anyone watching this broadcast, really to the world at large. We knew we shouldn't have done it. We did it anyways. And, you know, we reap what we sow.
So Odyssey playing with a pretty conventional comp minus the Reaper. Overall, I look see this like okay, good, and I see the Reaper, so they might be anticipating Hog here again. So Reaper can shred those beefy tank heroes, and Slepton, if they're being on the Bastion, I actually think this could be an issue potentially for Odyssey because there's not a lot of not a lot of chip damage that can get through the shield. It's going to be very reliant on building that window early, and maybe getting an off-angle pick from Dove.
Oh, both teams extracting poke in the neutral. Problem is, Bastion pokes quite a bit harder than just about anything else in the game. You have to get a little bit sneakier in how to approach the robot.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think Bastion's really a poke hero. He's more of just an open palm punch to the face.
Yeah, not pleasant. They dive in. That's what you have to do. But the Immortality Field, well timed. Dynasty being kept alive, but not for long. They deal enough damage to derail the pirate ship. Its main cannon, but they don't finish off the rest, so it's just a short stoppage, and that means Bastion is coming back out to play.
I am pretty sure Carrots, the Battle Maiden, just got 4 kills in that fight. They dropped down expecting to win, and they just weren't expecting the Brigida. Carrots finding at least 3, maybe 4 in that fight, and even though they got those early picks on Dynasty, the lamp gave them enough sustain to where they just couldn't finish the fight. And when you get into the breakdown like a close fight like that, having a Reinhardt and having a Brigida as opposed to a Widow is huge.
Oh no, Reaper, what have you done? Goes in the back, is immediately able to shift down, and all right, the distraction works out. Dynasty out of the fight, but oh no, Carrots, no way can it happen again. Has already taken down one. Nah, not happening again. Odyssey, this time they smother the pirate ship. Track, one of the last ones left alive, but should not be the stuff of miracles this time around.
Wow, I can't believe he got out there too. Maybe have an overcommit on the pulse. They would have loved to have this fight to remove the Immortality Field early for Lukemino. Now Slepton swapping Dynasty to the Widow, Doge to the Orisa. And they're going to play Brigida Xin here. So very low healing for Slepton. Very poke heavy. Rally about to be up.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a composition that can take long fights. They essentially have to win immediately, but they're not super equipped to dive in. And the snipe. Brigida down, long range, and Odyssey more than willing to push the fight to a degree.
This might be a mistake coming out from Slept On here, ZP. I mean, sure, they're still holding on to Rally, but they're still got to walk into Supercharger and Flux. They don't have a lamp. So then when one of these two ults for Odyssey comes out, whether it be the Flux or the Supercharger, they're maybe hoping the Rally will keep them alive, but there's just so much damage from Odyssey.
Yeah, I think right now they're relying on Dynasty to get pick off, but you know, between the two, I think you'd rather have Track be on the Widow here. It's sort of, they've gotten this weird spot where Track is stuck on the Tracer, wasn't able to swap, and now you have even more pressure coming out. I would love to see them swap heroes here. Okay, Track's going over the McCree, and I think Dynasty is getting off the Widow.
I have to wait and see. The Flux was invested there.
There it is.
Still hold on to the Supercharger.
Yes. We've realigned. We've realigned.
This is a lot better. This is looking like some old meta stuff here. So double shields for both. Still, not with the Death Blossom. Cowman needs to be searching for this. Needs to be making sure that he can't have a free Death Blossom. And he does.
Free. He just walks forward. Oh, gets caught at the end, but it still did a lot of damage.
Wait, they committed Flux.
Uh-oh. I mean, this is all or nothing. It could work out, but it's going to be real bad if it doesn't. Final few moments here. 34 seconds left remaining. And Slept On still keeps the push going to a degree.
I mean, while it's been happening, the cart hasn't been moving, though. They did get rid of Luke Camino, so he's not here in this fight just yet, but we'll be back in time. The trance is forced, but Doge gave his life for that.
Not a terrible trade, but they're going to have to end up doing this in overtime. And if they get through, their time bank's going to be decimated for the rest of this map.
Doge and Dynasty need to combine to find a frag right now. There's no trance available just yet for Moser. They need to find something if they're playing this dive style.
Malthel just teleported over to the back. The Flux now in from Vulcan. Odyssey looking to put it away. Two already down. And it's Luke Mino fragging out from the back. But hold your breath. It's still in progress. Track is still alive. He's taking out one. Track's taking out two. My goodness, is he doing it again? Dub shuts him down. But is that going to be enough? Slept On still in and around the point. Odyssey still here. And Malthel, the Reaper cleanup. That should be it. Takes down three, but hang on. Still going. Respawns have gotten back here. Yeah.
Vulcan here on the ball. Rack Attack going to Lucio, so they have fast heroes for a recontest if they want to do it. But they're going to have to recontest into Slept On, who are about to have mines.
All right, Odyssey back into full strength. Doge, though, dropping the mines all over the payload. Contest this. Nice immortality field coming out from Luke Mino. Able to deal with the pulse bomb. Dynasty, though, finishes him after. Vulcan, though, back in the fight. Deals with Track. It is back and forth between both teams, blue and red. But Dynasty still alive and active. Dove, though, takes down another from afar. Dynasty needs to respond here, looking for the Arisa so close. It's so far, finally getting the elimination. And we have another wave of respawns about to come in.
And they're still contesting. They're still dropping down. You see Vulcan making it back here yet again. Dynasty down. That's a huge pick. Dove keeping them in this fight, ZP.
Malthel, Reaper so good in these situations, just laying down the damage on the payload. One shot after another, takes down two. Slept On, they run out of steam, and we have ourselves a series. It's tied up 1-1.
Now that is chaos. That is just what was that, a minute-long stagger onto the cart there on first?
Oh, here it is.
This is it. This is the brawl.
This is the stuff of nightmares.
Look at Carrots just viciously swing this mace here.
Yeah.
Woo! It is 3. It looks like it ends up being 3. So there's 3 for Carrots, but not enough in the end. And it looked like what was going to be an actual, finally, a first cap there for Slept On, but the stagger lasted long enough, and Dove got enough picks that when as soon as Malthel reestablished the Reaper versus just a completely neutral fight, that is such a powerful hero because he's the guy with 2 guns. And he just walks forward to push WM1, and they didn't really have an answer to him once the fight had fully broken down.
No, not at all. I mean, the longer the fight goes, the better Reaper is. And, you know, if there's a word to really describe Odyssey there, they were stable. They were stable across the board. They kept their position when they needed to. You know what else is stable, though? FiOS from Frontier. If you want some of the most stable internet you could ever have in your life, go to www.frontier.com or just type !Frontier in the chat, and you too can experience enhanced stability. But now it's all tied up. The grand finals, they're heating up. We'll be back soon.
Speed freaks devour speed. Yummy, yummy speed. Speed freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the speed freak in you.
Everybody had a notion across the USA. Then everybody be surfing like California, yeah. You'd see him wearing the baggies, the ratchet sandals too. A bushy, bushy blonde hairdo, surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 5 is, always take time to reset your mental. That time in between leaving spawn and arriving to the next fight is your chance to take a deep breath. Getting tilted in teamfight after teamfight could cost you the game.
Continually losing that Widow duel? Did you mute your team to avoid the cries asking you to swap? Maybe you're just feeding. Swap to another character. Now the enemy team is feeding you.
Odyssey digging deep and coming back in the grand finals, evening up the series 1-1 against Slept On. And you know, this series has had it all so far. It's been immensely chaotic, and just when you think Slept On perhaps it cracked the code, brought a little bit order into everything, Odyssey, they changed it up on Junkertown, came out with a really good defense, and you know, the Reaper, even though he struggled a bit on the offense, definitely proved his worth on the defense. Just really good flanks and heavy pressure on the payload.
Definitely off the back of some questionable comp decisions, I think, though, from Slept On. They committed probably too long on the very low health comp. They fell into the trap, the very classic trap of just, we have ult, so I guess we got to stay on this hero, right? Which is not always the case, and I think it definitely hurt them there in the long run there for the Junkertown offense. But we are getting into our third map of the series now, I believe. Yeah, it is. It's going to be third map, and it will be a hybrid.
And it probably won't be King's Row, given the staff.
More than likely not. I think it's Blizzard World was what was chosen. Yes, it is Blizzard World here. So I imagine we'll see a very similar comp for Slept On that we've been seeing throughout all this tournament, playing this Ashe along with that double slow backline. It's more of a question of what does Odyssey choose to play?
Yeah, I think that's right. Also, you know, we've been doing a bit of selling out here. One thing we haven't looked at in the map screen, you know, direct your eyes down towards the bottom. You can follow the LA Valiant on Twitter at LA Valiant for info on future tournaments like this one. That's right. This one, not the last. Future tournaments, implied and said.
Your segue game is only increasing. I see your segue MMR just going up.
I'm leaning into it, really. You know, it's fun. I haven't gotten to do this in a while. You know, they don't let us do as many sponsor plugs because it's all done by fancy graphics and producers that know way more than we do. But, you know, here we get to branch out and really give the sponsors some love all the way. But now it's Blizzard World. And we'll see if Slept On can return fire, if they can channel what they did against Triumph, or is this a moment where Odyssey goes further and further along the revenge cycle?
Every time we have the slow pan on this face, something about it just yeah, I know, but it just unsettles me every time.
It's not just a face. It really must.
It's not just a game. The phrase is just a game is such a weak mindset.
Oh boy, we're going down some deep, like 90s level talk here, but we don't have to because the game is underway. You take a look at the Slept On defense here. It's Winston Zarya. And not a hog in sight.
Double shield up here for Odyssey as well. Playing once again on the Reaper and the Tracer. So playing a very slow backline and front line with a very aggressive DPS. Which, if they're expecting that Winston and that Zarya, I like the Reaper pick, I like the Tracer pick. You can punish them pretty heavily.
Yeah. And you see Dove right now in the back for Odyssey. And Slept On, they're so incredibly low, they can't possibly sustain for longer. They'll get a limp soon. This fight is going to be over. Odyssey already about 2 ticks. Slept On just trying to back away, get some extra healing in right now, but Cowman eventually falls, and the pressure from Odyssey, it's too unrelenting.
Muffle here onto the back line just to finish him up, and I have to say that the DPS line has paid dividends. I really like this swap here, expecting Slept On were going to play this Winston Zarya. It's so hard for the tanks to cycle contest. You're going to have perfect bubbles and a perfect jump away there for Doge while getting max amount of heals. And that Reaper alongside the Discord there and the halts just punishing those tanks to make sure they couldn't really have any sort of point presence. See Slept On already making picks, going to the Diva. They need a Matrix to deal with the Reaper. Getting a Reaper, or getting a McCree, I should say, as well for the flashbang. Both good swaps.
Maltho setting up for the flank. Dove also darting around. Meanwhile, the bulk of Odyssey on the low ground right now, focusing on the payload. The shields, of course, don't quite last as long as they used to, but still might be able to last long enough. Dove, Pulse Bomb, going for it. No, Dynasty's Pulse Bomb connects first. Takes down 2, essentially more with all the damage that was done, and fight over.
Gorgeous dive. Really, really good dive there from Slept On. Saw Luke Mino try to commit the window, catch any member of Slept On the high ground, but the tanks just dive into it with the primal. They force that lamp early, allowing Dynasty to get max value from the pulse bomb there, just walking through the window. More like a door.
Also, I have a confession to make that's a little bit random here. Casting Cowman is hard. I see someone, a 2-word name, C and M, and numbers at the end. I keep wanting to call him Cool Matt, and it's really messing with me.
Cool Matt's just more of a GM type of guy, you know? He's more of a GM type of guy. As the general manager of the Outlaws now, the interim one. There's that supercharger invested for Rhino, though. As Odyssey advance forward, they're playing continuously on the low ground. Trant's going to be used here early for Moser as well, trying to keep Doge up.
And I mean, the Transcendence, not too terrible, results in Malthel falling. Transcendence comes out in return, and Odyssey actually getting a lot more out of that. Dove was able to get the pulse bomb into the back, and Odyssey, the later Transcendence pays off, and Malthel sacrifice worthwhile.
That was an incredible fight from Odyssey. The supercharger to put a lot of pressure on Doge early alongside the Discord from Rack Attack. And then when they try to invest the Flux, get more ults out, sure, got interrupted. That happens. But the important part is they got so much utility and ults out early there from Slepton that they could finish the fight.
Dove goes a little bit too deep, but this is problematic right now for Slepton. The timing set by Odyssey is immensely quick here so far. And if they don't do something soon to stop this map might be out of reach. Quick dive in coming in here from Doge. Primal Rage in reserve. Track pelting down from the top. Odyssey, though, shaking off a lot of pressure, but ooh, Rhino taken down early. Focus fired. And slept on in a pretty good spot. Malthel still connects. The death blocks to the back, takes down both supports, and that's unreal play coming in from the Reaper. Just when you think the fight is over, Odyssey says no way.
And what a synergy there from Vulcan alongside of it. Malthel going to the back there at the end, and then Vulcan throwing that shield to make sure he can shield dance, finish off the tanks post-fight. Huge plays coming out here from Odyssey. The cart continues to move. Slepton making the swap to the Winston Zarya here again. Now, they were punished by this before on first, and they decided to move to this here again.
Winston dive in from Doge, has to blow the Primal early from the focus fire. No, it's just a distraction. Track, the Deadeye from the back does enough. And Slepton, this is crucial here, Vast. They desperately needed to drain this clock a little bit more.
Now, Doge choosing to go into the pit afterwards, after winning those fights, you know, just once again, the blood sacrifice comes out. But it's a really good aggression there from Doge with the Primal, keeping the backline split, making sure Track couldn't get punished while high nooning. It's Dynasty taking that early duel. Trance and Pulse both up here for Slepton. Odyssey, though, probably just going to look to make something work off the halt window.
Pulse Bomb on the dive in, but, you know, the Immortality Field's going to be there. I don't know if that was really the play.
Wait, why the dive after that, too, as well? Doge getting caught right after that.
Yeah.
They got to lose all their space.
Slepton just got way too overeager there. They forgot the Immortality Field was a thing. Oh, no, the Pulse Bomb on the track. Dove adding on to the pain, and Odyssey's still gonna set a super fast time.
And I have to say that it looks like that Hog Zarya is not here to stay. Double shields definitely still have their place. And there was a lot of value to denying the dive there from Slepton. And maybe going a little too deep. Dynasty gets picked off but forced to the lamp. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
but Doge getting caught right after that, getting with the halt, the Discord there from Rack Attack. It's just punishing those tanks so heavily from Slepton.
Yeah, like if Slepton, if you had the Tracer go in, force the Immortality Field out and get away with her life, that's not bad. And also the Observers at this point, they're just going to this picture specifically for you, Vast. There's no other reason why.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love staring into that eyes. The eyes of Moroheim.
The smile, ever there, the eternal homage on the map. But yeah, back to their point, it's just, you know, if Dynasty had simply forced the Immortality Field and got away with his life, would have been fine. But dying there and then having Doge just like go like, I'm gonna go feed too. I mean, it fits with the theme of the tournament. Not quite good for actually winning the map.
And it is just the downside of running that Winston Zarya. It's like, sure, you can give Doge the bubble to protect him there. And it looked like Doge was also going to try to get out. But the problem is once the jump's been committed, once the bubble's been placed and used, you have no other escape mechanics because you don't have the survivability of Sigma. You don't have pretty much the mobility of a Hammond. So it is tough to be caught in that position, and what sort of the beauty of what Odyssey was running to punish the tanks for Slepton. And they're going to continue to play it. If you look here on the defense, they're still playing the Reaper Tracer with the same comp, just looking to punish Doge and Cowman.
I mean, so far, if it's working, why change it? Make the other team break it first, at a minimum. Vulcan getting some decent poking to start things out. And Cowman already down.
And you saw the bubbles were used early off that poke, and then they halted him again right after that, and he was down again.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's really the Sigma playing Vulcan that started that, where you walk through a choke point, you have the orbs coming in, use your shield early, and then you get hit by a different type of orb from Zen in the back.
Dynasty gonna be going the dove on the flank, is now slept on, sort of just staggering out here in main. Taking some poke, building some energy here for Cowman. This is the scary part for Slept On, is the approach. They don't want to get caught by a rock, they don't want to get caught by a halt, and get immediately right-clicked, burned down. And it looks like they're going to choose to go this flank, so go from the far right, take this high ground. I think that's a smart play, because it avoids a lot of the damage.
Yeah, I mean, the problem I have right now for Slept On, though, is that this is slow. The neutral game has been so against them so far. The clock continues to drain down, and, you know, Odyssey hasn't really been forced to burn anything here.
Nano is up for Slept On. They're likely going to look for the engage. There's that Nano out on the Doge. Can he force anything? The answer is no, and he almost goes down.
Well, they force the Mortality Field. Luke Mino really on point, saves himself, saves his team, and Carrots falls to the combined effort of the Tanks Sports Dynasty. Looking for the Pulse Bomb, does not get it. And the rest of the Odyssey just simply walk forward. And that's a break point right there, Vasquez. Look at the time, only 2 minutes left, and Odyssey is still in a phenomenal position.
I think this is okay, though, for Slept On. Considering they removed both the support ults, Death Blossom still has not been burned because Malto playing the counter dive Reaper is not conducive to building a lot of ult charge when the team is getting vaporized before they even get to actually shoot anybody. So I actually think this is okay for Slept On to remove the trance, remove the window. They just need to get the dive out, have Doge make some space, and maybe put them around the shield so track they could do like a Primal High Noon, get them out from behind the shield. They'll have a trance for the Flux and also for the Supercharger / Death Blossom if necessary.
I don't like how slow they're playing this here. You have the Transcendence, you have your advantage. Why not just push in? Why take all this time?
Well, they don't want to have to pop trance early just yet because of all this ult still on the field for Odyssey. They want to save the trance where it's needed most, and there's no Lucio, right? So they are very slow. It is a downside of their comp. They're looking to take this, just go on the other side of the choke here to attack first.
The problem is this entire rotation has burned a minute, almost the entire fight they could have had. They have to transcend early in response to Flux, and if you can get the knockoff here, it'd be big, but Luke Mino, well, stays alive. Not entirely too long, but enough to keep Doge in the back. 2 down. And the long approach here from Slept On might be paying off. However, track falls. Rhino and Vulcan still up and around. We'll see how long the front line can sustain. While their support is down. No, there's the rock. The follow through.
Oh, Cowman.
No, there's no way. Honestly, I mean, respawns could be coming in soon. Dynasty needs to finish this here. Gets down rack attack, deals with the Orisa, makes it 3. Exactly what needed to happen here for Slept On, as long as it did take.
Now Slept On do have that point control. Just gonna be cleaning up these kills. And it was a good, solid rotation there from Slept On. Finding some isolated targets. Doge gets that early primal kill, isolating Luke Mino. They get more kills off of the back of that. It took longer than they would have liked, but they held on to grab. They're gonna have another nano. They're still holding on to the High Noon as well. Ult combinations available here. So slow, steady engage, but fight winner ult's gonna be available. Not much in the bank here for Odyssey.
I think the problem is going forward is that Slept On has to be playing quicker. They're in a huge time deficit now. They can't play point B that slow, or they're just gonna lose. Graviton, ready right now for Cowman. Doesn't want to feed it to the Sigma instead. Just drops on the shield, gets Nano on Cesare, but the shields are there, and I don't think the fall through is necessarily coming in here. Cowman, though, still gotta look for it. Forces out the Transcendence, at least gets that out here from Odyssey. Track, looking for the Deadeye. Does a lot of damage to Rhino, but the heal's immediately there. And now Slept On under real pressure. Odyssey moving in from all angles. Cowman already down. Track shooting on window repairs and simply can't hit the Tracer.
Pulse gonna be invested in Cowman going down in that fight, not able to be saved by the trance. I think that was the turning moment, and it definitely was. Wasn't a great grab at the top. Both shields were available. There was no follow-up for Slept On. It was really tough to get any follow-up at all. It's not like Moser at an angle or Dynasty. And then that post-fight when they pushed around, when they tranced aggressively for Odyssey into them, Cowman wasn't able to be saved. And Cowman is the majority of the damage when he's on the Zarya. Mothel.
Okay.
Sees Dynasty here.
Goes for the Tracer. I mean, not the usual prey for a Reaper, but sometimes it works out. Definitely don't hate the attempt. Slept On, again, they're just so slow on setting up right now, Avast. Look at the time. They're down almost 2 minutes from where they started here on this point.
Supercharger going to be invested for Rhino. Maltho getting forced up there on the high ground. Gonna have to use that Wraith Form and back on out. Doge waiting for this dive. They're trying to wait out the supercharger so they don't get immediately burned. Hoping they can build nano as well so they can drop that when Doge dives on in. The Maltho pressuring Doge very heavily.
Yeah, Doge just decides to leap in, use Primal, but it's just
oh my goodness.
Everyone was in it. Look at the kill feed. Everyone. Meanwhile, Maltho drops Death Blossom in the back. Deals with the Tracer. Not much else. Track. Finally, a little bit of room to work with, and Slepton, I think, need this right now.
No initiation really available for Slepton. Doge coming back fast on the Hammond. Vulcan is holding on to a Flux, and this Flux is so important for this fight coming up because as soon as the point contest is going to come out, Vulcan is just going to drop the Flux there, finish them off. Moser needs to keep that window available, or rather the drone.
They're going to have to blow Transcendence earlier. They don't have the healing whatsoever. Still winnable for Odyssey. Oh no, if you're Odyssey, you just back out. It's overtime spawns though. This is really awkward to get staggered like this.
Dove playing around the cart, looking for contest, poking these tanks out here just a bit.
Widow swap, stick, gets the Ana, huge from Dove. And now Odyssey have their opening. They've already got the Widow pick, it's just over. Slept on, just getting pummeled from all ends. The fight ends before it begins. Odyssey, they take the map, and they are turning the series fully in their favor. Now one map away from winning it all.
Unbelievably good synergies there for Odyssey. We see it all the time. You need these little micro plays to force the lamp to set up your next ult, and that's exactly what happened there at the end. Dove hits the stick, and Carrots actually isn't able to make it to the lamp in time, but the lamp is forced, and then Vulcan just drops the Flux, guaranteeing that both the backline are going to be dead immediately out of that fight. And Odyssey are playing this very, very well right now. And it seems like that there's no answer currently for Slepton in terms of they're just sort of locked into playing Winston Zarya or playing the Hammond. They might need to bring up some double shield of their own because this Reaper is just causing so many problems with the dive.
Yeah, it's been very, very effective for Odyssey. And I think a key point to this, too, is that we haven't talked about it as much, but the supporting play coming in has been great. You look at how Luke Mino has been alive in these fights, drops the Immortality field at the exact right time to keep his team alive. And look, while we're talking about good supports, let's talk about Frontier, FiOS from Frontier, where if you want to be well supported, if you want to be taken care of from your internet company, you should really look into Frontier, www.frontier.com or !Frontier in the chat. But now we'll see if Odyssey can finish it all. One map away. Can they do it? We'll find out soon.
Speed Freaks do everything. All at once, whenever they want. Speed Freaks have gig service internet for just $74.99 a month plus taxes and fees. Let us guide the Speed Freak in you.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 1 is always be ready to hit that emote key. Did you just nail the perfect shot? Take a moment. Rub it in the other team's face. Everyone needs a moment to shine. Which brings me to rule number 2. Don't glow for too long or you'll get what's coming. Be safe out there.
Maybe this time charging into the team fight will work. Oh, you should have stuck with your team. It worked last time. But don't worry, the enemy team says thanks. Feed Fest. If there's a place to try that trick play, it's here. Register and tune in for the best that Tier 2 Overwatch has to offer.
Overwatch is different now that the meta is changing every week. We need a few ground rules in order to survive. Rule number 3 is click heads. The quickest way to kill is a headshot. Move your mouse over to where the head is going and click it. Click it good. Headshots cause maximum damage and are more likely to turn the tide of your game. Boom. Easy as that. Click heads, that's how you win.
Odyssey is just one map away from having that sweet, sweet revenge against Slepton, up 2-1 in the series. And now Vast, we go to Volskaya to potentially close this one out.
And Volskaya probably a comfort pick for Slepton since it also offers a lot of space for how they've been playing their backline so far. They've been pretty confident on it. But Odyssey seems to be picking out some counters here to deal with how Slepton have been playing so far. They've had some excellent synergies. And, you know, that aside, I have to say that closing out every time that we go to break, with describing Frontier as like a burly person that tucks you in bed and gives you some more milk or something, gives you a kiss on the forehead. I have to say that's a different level for the ad read than I've had before.
Yeah, I mean, look, the way I see it is that I learned from the best. I've spent many events with great icons of industry like Golden Boy, like Hex, and at some point you just got to flex your own advertising muscle, and I'm getting to do that here and now. I can't be stopped.
No, you really can't. I'm just looking to each new and creative ways that we're gonna iterate that one until maybe we'll start doing just like full-blown skits to just show the Frontier communication and things like that hopping on in. But we are going to be moving Volskaya as our 4th map of the series, and it is time for Slepton to bring it back, because if they lose this map, this is the grand finals, and they will be achieving 2nd. No, actually, I guess they're still a 3rd place match technically, so they're not going to be they're not guaranteed 2nd after this, but they will not be getting 1st. That much is certain.
They will not be getting 1st. Eloquently stated, as always.
I know. That is a brilliant piece of insight.
Yeah, I mean, there was no flaws, there was no weakness. I mean, it was a grammatical masterpiece, if I ever heard one. But Volskaya is where we're going, and I have to say, it's a turnaround from Odyssey, where you think back to map 1, Odyssey looked awful on map 1. They ran the Hog Zarya, and they got crunched. I didn't expect this. I thought that Slepton was probably going to sweep it all, and yet Odyssey, they've relied on the Reaper comp quite a bit, starting at Junkertown, but it's been well supported all the while, and Slepton, they just haven't had an answer.
We're going to have to see some adaptation here for Slepton as we move into Volskaya. I mean, it's very clear so far, at least, that Odyssey has picked a comp and a style that is doing very, very well with how slow Slepton wants to play at times. So we're gonna have to see just the pace increase a bit. We're gonna have to see some adjustments, making sure they're making some swaps, some proactive swaps, because you don't want to get caught in a situation where you're just running over and over again into this wall.
I'm glad you mentioned pace, just because it was on Volskaya just yesterday that I got to say, look at the speed, look at the pace, when Atlanta just would not stop. So, you know.
The 112.
Yeah, the
never
one and
gonna see
only.
a 113. I never will.
Probably not. But Slepton heading out to the point on the defense. And the Hog is back in action. A little bit of pulled pork for you.
And Odyssey, once again, pulling out the same comp for the offense. The double shield with the Reaper. The BAP's in. So very reliant on punishing dive tanks. They do have a good bit of damage. But I think Slepton's comp is actually great into this. They're playing Halt Hook. I would probably prefer to have maybe a Sigma here, but still, Halt Hook available. They have a BAP to deal with the Death Blossom, to deal with a lot of this damage, and then a Mei and an Ashe. So I really like what Slepton are playing.
Dove also got caught super early, and Dove's actually swapping over to the Ashe in response to the comp you're seeing here. Also, most importantly, Carrots didn't fall into the water to begin with, so already upsides here on all accounts here for Slepton. Although Track. I don't think he realized that the Ashe swap happened. I think he still thought there was a Tracer.
I don't know if he realized how far away his team was. Even if there was still a Tracer, Track was so far away from his team. He might have just been caught, just been isolated there and not been able to rotate, but that was still a bad position either way. Now Odyssey is going to start pressuring this point. Slepton bunkering up here on that Mega Pack. Window is up.
Yeah, window's up, but I mean, they've already given up quite a bit on point, and Odyssey can wait this out a little bit, head back over. I mean, it's good on Slepton to push out, but okay, that's even better. Track was able to get Dove. Now they have a lot more to work with. They take down the front line, and that's what they needed. And Track is the one setting it up once more.
Track having a lot of space, but I mean, also now Track has the space to be able to get a lot more value because they're playing a little bit beefier for front line. They're not relying on a dive. They're looking just to sustain long enough so Track can find some of these picks so they can get a halt, get a hook. And it's working out excellently so far. This next fight for Odyssey, though, is going to be very important. Halt window is going to be up. They'll have Flux right after. So they have options to remove the Lamp of Carrots and then just use the next ult right after that. Ideally, they want to like halt window. There it is, right around the corner. Great Maywall, though, from Dynasty.
The wall comes up in. Oh, Track taken down early. This is tough. Although the Hog hook equalizes. Both teams down to Ashe. Cowman on the flank. That's where Hog loves to be. Gonna drop the whole Hog in the middle of it all. The problem is the Flux came out from Odyssey, and that has put Odyssey at a huge advantage. Blizzard or no, they're able to step out of it for the most part. Alpha doesn't quite care. And the Odyssey, they're gonna be getting point A, and you know, now we have to do a momentum check here. What do you think as we head into point B?
Well, Death Blossom Bob up for Odyssey. I would say that it is a very possible win here, but it's going to require some great... They pretty much need to get the Lamp out of Carrots, not lose anyone early. There's a lot of options here for Slepton to sort of just burn a tank down. They're going to have Window. They're going to have Supercharger. They have a Bob. Mothul is sort of the difference maker right now. He's on the flank. He is escorted, though. They know he's there. They cannot let him get anything for free here.
It's also a big distraction. He's going to go for the teleport all around. Now they've shifted their focus. In a way, they forgot about Malthel. He's heading in. He has Death Blossom. D.Va sees him. And Malthel's just drawing a lot of attention here. Now he goes to the point. He has to use Shift, though. This is where he's a little bit more vulnerable. The rest of Odyssey, they lose Dove early. So now at some point, Malthel has to make a move, and the move is go back to spawn. Track found him.
And that was really good mitigation there from Slepton. Cowman making sure that Malthel going to come in and drop the free Death Blossom. Doge finishing up with the halt after the Wraith Form been used. Keeping the eyes on the Reaper there is key, because once the Reaper's out of the fight, in the long game, unless someone just feeds, Slepton just wins they just win this trade. They have a Mei to mitigate a lot of the damage. They have a Mei to cycle test the point and split off the tanks. Malthel's gonna have to get a little bit more, or maybe look for a swap.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the verticality of Volskaya Last doesn't help Reaper at times. Like, it's pretty predictable where he's coming in from. You know, and then when you don't teleport, you gotta walk, and it's not quick. What I'll say about that, but he's gonna teleport to the back. Bob, used pretty early here from the defenders. Bob out of fight. Malthel, again, just a lurking presence, and this time he's going for it. Shifts in, waiting. Death Blossom May out of the fight early, and the Reaper has found the value they're looking for, even in death. And now we look back over the Dove. Dove needs to make up the rest of the difference. Takes down Doge, that's a start. Can't land the shot on the D.Va right now. D.Va juking and diving, still taken down. And Odyssey quite close to their goal.
So here's the recontest coming out. Kara's gonna drop that window here. Luckily, Dynasty makes it to the point. Maelt is gonna be available. They need some synergy now. Dynasty going down to drop the Maelt. Does it catch anyone? The answer is yes. It forced them off the point, and it finds Vulcan. Is Vulcan gonna go down? Vulcan so low. Finally cleaned up.
Malthel got caught in all that too. And now Dove is still alive, but you've lost so many on the offense that was once looking so good. Guess what? Back to the drawing board. And you don't have tons of time left. Only 1:50 left on the clock.
It was a great setup there from Odyssey, but some good delay coming out from Cowman. Dynasty makes it to the point in time. Utilizing that off angle from Carrots on the window, keeping the pressure on them. Though no ults really in the bank here for Slepton. Approaching that trance soon. If I'm Odyssey, I think would be a pretty interesting composition here to just throw the Bob to point and commit the window for Luke Mino, maybe off the halt, find somebody when they drop the contest.
Well, the Bob was thrown out and immediately dispatched. Does let them head on in. Ball fell on the Doom, 20 HP. Cowman down though, and now you have to get to the point. Oh boy, Slepton nearly gave that up for free. It might be going regardless. The pressure overwhelming. And they did what you said there, just threw the Bob in and...
How do I do it? How do I do it? How do I say what they need to do and they just do it? How? How do I do it?
The 112!
Wait, I have seen a 112. Never gonna see a 113.
Also, the answer to how you do it is, look, I know your secrets. You hang out with Achilleos on a regular basis, and he's starting to hook you up. The Senator's starting to give you some of his connections, some of his insider trading. You're starting to see beyond the wheel, and you've just entered the Overwatch Illuminati.
Oh, don't mention the wheel. Don't mention the wheel. The fanatics will peel. They're gonna pour from the woodwork and start rotating. They're gonna get an incredible amount of angular momentum.
I welcome the chaos, is all I'll say to that. But yeah, 28 seconds till things begin once more. Don't really want to talk about the Odyssey time bank because I don't think I can do it with a straight face. But we'll see what the defense is here, and they're just sticking with the Reaper. It doesn't quite matter what the situation is.
I mean, the Reaper still holds value versus the Hog if they're gonna play Hog comp still. Like you have ways to punish with the Reaper even outside of dive composition, so it is really not terrible. It is a threat as well when you have the Death Blossom. It's very easy to synergize with the Halt to remove once you remove the lamp. So it does have some good synergies. Slepton gonna continue to play comp we were seeing them play before, though with Cowman on the Hog. Gonna see a lot of Halt hooks coming out. And I just watched Doze disappear a little bit late lamp from Carrots.
Yeah, not quite timely enough. And Slepton, oh, they're heading back. Also, that was a great dynamite coming in from Dove to start all that out. I mean, it's always so difficult pushing to an Ash where, you know, there's things you can do to mitigate against the dynamite, but if it hits you cleanly, that just your team's health goes into the dumpster.
Yeah, I've just been starting to refer to it as the Moab, like every time, because it can do so much damage. So Slepton coming back together, looking to the repush.
It's very Acme-esque ability in an otherwise futuristic game. The dynamite looks exactly like cartoon dynamite you'd expect to look at. Okay, Malthel's down immediately, so Dove, hope you're back strong, because the carry is going to be necessary here as the last remaining DPS.
Though luckily for Odyssey, they're on the high ground, so it's tough for Slepton to really take advantage of any sort of close fight. Dove taking a rock to the face, gonna drop on down. That's fine, you know, just repositioning. Already a tick coming out for Slepton there. They do have a Halt window available.
Time's running out. Odyssey needs to move in. Vulcan, though, already dropped. Malthel comes back in on the Doomfist. Finds track in the Doomfist. Perhaps the answer. They haven't given up the point just yet. They waited the max amount of time. And the Doom. Who knew? Who knew?
Wow, what comeback there. Well, Malthel really did just open it up. They dropped the whole window, wasn't able to find anyone other than the lamp, and Malthel just finds all those picks in the back line. That is an incredibly important recontest there. Giving up 2 ticks. A lot of percentage there on first.
That was the emergency Doomfist, by the way. Usually a play that doesn't result in success, but, you know, this time it did.
Now Slept On gonna have to take another crack here at the point. Both tank ults about to be up for Odyssey. A lot of synergies about to be up for Odyssey, actually. Dropping the supercharger or the halt window to remove the lamp, then putting the flux right after. They're gonna do the vice versa. It's a pretty classic setup there for their ults. As Slept On, they're taking the slow fight. Maldo trying to punch someone out, not gonna find him.
Decent distraction, they'll force out the Fortify. Oh boy. Lucamino down. The healing's not gonna be there for Odyssey, so there's a timer here for Malthel and Dove to find something. Or the fight's just over. Supercharger, though, does buy some time here. Lucamino swapped the Lucio to get back into the fight a little bit quicker. And also potentially, well, Malthel's down. Supercharger about to fade. Vulcan still doesn't have Flux.
Those are two individual picks now for Slept On, and they still have not started pressuring the point, and they get caught by the off angle. That's such a good off angle from Rack Attack.
And now the Transcendence comes back in. The Flux, it's ready to go. They're heading up into the air. They're about to get slammed on down. Transcendence having to be committed. Slept On gets a point, but this was costly. This was expensive. This is a down day at the stock market.
Well, it took a while, but I mean, looking at Slept On's ult bank, this is actually very good for them. They can use the Bob to pressure the point. They can set up the Flux to maybe remove Lamp, throw the Mail right after, so there's no Lamp to save them. They know Rack Attack doesn't have Trance. Mothel is going to be the key factor for Odyssey. The only one with an ult can maybe get a one-shot kill, maybe drop the ult to get another. It's really on him to find some value.
The problem is, going into point B, after having to commit both your support ultimates, it's not ideal in a lot of situations. The odds are someone's gonna get picked off. But now Slept On going to be engaged, and already, well, Duke gets one, but the Blizzard does quite a bit more. One tick already on the board, but look at this. Dove still has the sightline, takes down Doge, takes down Moser, and the Ashe has likely done enough.
Oh, Dub and Rack Attack are just pounding right now. They had great point presence. They were able to split off the heals with the Mail there, get 2 frags, but they just couldn't deal with the high ground presence of Rack Attack and Dove doing so much damage. Now there's gonna be another fight coming out here for Slept On. No ults in the bank either. I guess a window. But a window on its own versus a bomb versus the positioning of the defense, it shouldn't really be enough.
I just looked at support alt side things here. You take a look at the defense. Transcendence gonna be up here soon. Odyssey, you know, as long as they don't give up first pick, this next fight's gonna be very, very difficult for Slept On. Look at the angle from Dove. That's just slowing things up.
Can you call it the Ang, please? Look at the Ang.
Is that what the cool kids say now? Is that what it is?
Oh my goodness, well, track's gone. Well, they have lost one already, and it's done. Fight's over.
Yeah, you mentioned the Ang. How about the bang? Right there, the track. Immediately taking him out of the fight. And, well, back to the drawing board. 2 minutes left remaining now for Slept On. And the series and championship is on the line.
We'll say saving grace here for Slept On there was that the halt window forced Rack Attack to Trance. They got the Trance out. And even though they lost the fight, that's a big ult off the field. Ideally here, Supercharger's gonna come out for Doge. They force the Lamp. And then maybe they can get the Flux for right after, knowing Rack Attack does not have a follow-up ult.
Oh, look at this. Malthel hanging out here. I don't think they spotted him. This is a secret operation, covert mission behind enemy lines. Reaper, Sun, in danger, gets the McCree. Oh, that was so close to tragedy. Still worked out.
That's a huge fight win here from Odyssey. Building up those ults, another 30, 40 seconds gonna be going off the board here. Slept On gonna have to reapproach here again. And this is last fight.
This is potentially it. Odyssey, one fight away from winning the Valiant Feed Fest here and now. Slept On, their favorites perhaps heading into this from their last Contenders performance. They're now on their final opportunity. Odyssey, meanwhile, they can taste the revenge.
There's the window used, not find anyone, but burning some time up the clock, getting more ults built here for Odyssey. Less than 30 seconds on the clock here. Slept On making their final approach, could be their last fight in the Feed Fest here in the grand finals.
Odyssey still very healthy. 17 seconds left. Slept On must make positions now. 12 seconds left to go. Superchargers down both sides. Moser takes down Lucamino. This is a really good start for Slept On. The championship not out of reach yet. Odyssey crumbling one by one. They drop the flux a little bit later into the fight. Dubs taking down one. They still need quite a bit more. Dynasty, very healthy. Onto point, looking for the Sigma. Kill feed filling up with blue and slept on as time has faded. Onto point, but hang on. You pick off saying back in. Odyssey trying to stall back over. They keep the map in contest, but here's the problem. It's at 12 seconds that Odyssey had. Slept-On doesn't get another attack. They have to defend here to force the draw, to keep the series in contention, to keep up the hope of being the champions.
Someone, Dynasty just put on a clinic there. I mean, this guy, that was literally the most clutch thing possible for the McCree in that scenario. They win the opening engagement there, the opening salvos with the supercharger in the window, but then they get some key picks and Dubs on that backline, but he stops the Death Blossom. He denies Dub the flank, and he gets kill after kill after kill right afterwards, being the cleanup on the point. That could have gone so terribly wrong for Slept On when they lost some of those early frags, but Dynasty kept them in it, giving them some hope. And this is a very possible draw, ZP. A minute 12, I've seen first holds happen all the time with that sort of time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need a telescope for this one. You got front row seats to the draw. Even my eyes, as terrible as they are, can clearly see the outline. However, you think about Odyssey, you think about how they attacked here in the beginning, where they have been good. Even though Track delayed things a lot the first time around, Dove is no slouch, and okay, this is a change. They're going May Reaper. They are going full-on aggression because remember, they only need 33%.
Oh, this is so risky. This is so risky. I like it better than going for Sombra to play a slow build ult, but you have to walk into this absolute fortress of Slept On right now with the Zinbap.
50 seconds to go, the championship hanging in the balance. Rhino getting focused on her, but Track's down! They've taken down the MVP! Slept On, they need to somehow bring it back, but Odyssey, their frontline power cannot be denied. They are your Feed Fest champions.
The isolation there, the push from Odyssey, and completely blocking off Slept On, finding the early frags on the tanks. I have to imagine just Slept On got split in a way by their own wall even. They just didn't have an answer to the aggression. They fell to the point. They lost tanks too early. And Odyssey with a great swap off there in the end. And they're just going to win it out. That's going to be the 3-1 for them, winning the Feed Fest, and Odyssey looking strong.
Yeah, and look, you go back to map 1, you just travel back in time, you horribly misuse a time machine. Instead of using it for any real purpose like getting rich, you use it to just go back, tell us the results of the series after map 1 completed, and I wouldn't have believed the person. Even if it was myself and understanding the absurdity, I still would have said, no, there's no way. I mean, Slept On was looking unstoppable, but Odyssey, you know, they ditched the Hog and the Zarya. They came out with this reliable ground and pound version of Overwatch with focusing on a lot of Reaper, and Slept On never quite found the answer.
Yeah, they just got split way too early. They had to use the lamp in a very non-optimal position. It wasn't on the corner like you'd like most lamps to be, where you can protect it from the damage and keep it up. They got split by their own wall to an extent, hoping to keep their tanks alive. And the aggression just caught them by surprise, or maybe they didn't know exactly how they wanted to drop the point to deal with it because their setup wasn't ideal. But Odyssey looking very adaptable throughout this series. They were looking, that's probably the most important takeaway from me from that team, is that they looked extremely flexible in their comps and like all the different styles they could play.
All right, so I believe. Wait, do we have an interview about to go on here? I hear Rhino.
I think we might have an interview with Rhino.
You in when it's time.
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be a few moments here, a little bit of crosstalk, but it sounds like we'll get to talk with Rhino and just get a little bit more insight on what makes this Odyssey squad tick.
I cannot wait to hear what Rhino has to say. I'm sure it's going to be excellent. And, you know, maybe that could be the real difference here for Odyssey, is that how many years, there may be a greater number of years for Odyssey as a team before they're eligible for Overwatch Leagues, considering what, Rhino's 15, 16 now?
Yeah, that's a sugar-free zone right there. Sugar-free did it first, and yeah, you're just gonna wait a long time. But hey, you know what? greatness can mature and you stay in the path. Who knows what sort of bag might be awaiting you if you just continue to put on high-level performances. And man, the series, it was chaotic. It was crazy. I loved it.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a great series. I really enjoyed that sort of this preview to look forward for the Overwatch League postseason as well. Seeing some of the comps that were viable. I mean, who knows exactly yet, right? A little bit less Hog Zarya than I liked. I wanted to see more of that.
Yeah,
but realistically, just not that good of a tank combo. So
I just gotta call you out. You just have this love-hate relationship where you're like, I don't want to see it, but I really want to see it.
I really do. It's like seeing. It's like a car crash. It's like when you're at a demolition derby of sorts. Like you fear looking at it, but at the same time, you do want to see it.
Yeah, you're just like, well, that's why I bought the ticket. I mean, I just don't want to watch people turn left for all this time. At some point, it makes you a little bit horrible, but you got to admit it deep down. You have to go, yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. And, you mentioned the adaptability angle, and I agree, because going into this, I was wondering, okay, well, Odyssey, they're running a lot of Hog Zarya. It served them well before. Slept on, though, found the answer. I've seen this story a lot in Overwatch where a team relies heavily on sort of a flavor of the month strategy, gets figured out, and then they collapse, right? And wasn't the case here. It was nice stuff from Odyssey.
Love the flexibility. Love to see it. So we are just waiting to potentially do an interview with Rhino next of Team Odyssey. Here's some of their thoughts. But for right now, I mean, I have walked away from that saying Odyssey looked pretty good. We didn't get to have our sort of a reunion between the two, I would say.
Now, I think Rhino might have come in, and he likes what we're saying so much. It's just like coming back into us. But we're professionals, so we can just speak, even as we hear our own voice, a moment delayed.
I think we have a lot of gravitas,
Yeah.
And Rhino should be hopping on in.
All right, Rhino, are you there?
Yep.
Well, first off, I want to say congratulations on your victory here today. And, a victory that had to have some extra meaning to it because you got your revenge against Slept On. And what does that mean to you and your team?
It feels pretty good. We got our revenge. So we couldn't do this in contenders, but it still feels good. I feel like we should have dropped first map. We just didn't adapt in time, but whatever. We still ended up winning.
Now I have to ask for the talk of the town right now is Hog Zarya as a tank line. Do you feel that that's considering that most of the series you guys didn't play Hog Zarya, especially after Oasis, do you feel like it actually has a decent amount of viability, or is it almost more of a cheese strat?
It's definitely cheese. Just nobody stopped us, so we were just running it. After first map, they just played the long sight lines, played with the Zen. We couldn't push them, so we ended up losing. So we just went double shield and beat them.
So I respect it. There's definitely a world then where if it was a gang stop, you just would have ran it all tournament long and let people go, oh my God, this is broken. Even knowing all the while, it's like, yeah, we can swap at any time. We're good.
Yeah, pretty much. We were pretty confident going in. I don't know, last night, we were practicing on, obviously, the contenders patch, so we were just like, why not just run Hog Zarya? Hog is better, Zarya is still good. Let's just try it, and ended up working out pretty well in finals.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, and for that Reaper pick you guys played the majority of the series, was that something you guys picked almost exclusively to counter what Slept On was playing? Do you feel like they were going to play a lot of that Winston Zarya, or was that sort of just an on-the-fly decision, it wasn't pre-decided?
It was just an on-the-fly because, I don't know, Mouthful is obviously himself. He likes flanking. He likes just doing whatever he wants. So he just locked Reaper. It ended up working. So we just rolled with it, and then we won.
So Rhino, we're heading to the end here, but of course, we're interviewing you. It's your moment to shine. Any last shout-outs or anything you want to get out there to the public before we wrap things up?
Shout out to Mario, my old coach. He taught us a lot about triangles in Overwatch. Teaches you a lot. Makes it really helpful in game.
Excellent. The triangles. I've never heard you talk about triangles, Avast.
No, I'm more of a circle guy. I'm pi r squared.
That's great. Well, thank you, Rhino, so much for joining us. Congratulations again on your tournament victory. Really looking forward to what the future has for you.
Thank you so much.
And now, Vasta, that brings our time here about to an end. This has been great, though. I really want to thank, the Los Angeles Valiant for putting on this tournament. And, I hope to see more in the future. This has just been good, solid competition and good day for the community.
You know who else you should thank, ZP? Is Frontier Communications, okay? That's who else you should thank because they have been the sponsor for this fine event. And you can always check it out at the link, which I currently don't remember right off the top of my head. So that's unlucky. Do you remember it, ZP?
Yeah, it's the name of the company. Who knew? www.frontier.com or !Frontier in chat.
Perfect.
I appreciate the initiative, but you got to work on your execution.
I know. I should have remembered it right at the top. But yes, it's been very fun here. It's been good to be reunited. See some excellent Overwatch, some preview for the Overwatch League even, and just another good day of some solid Tier 2 gameplay.
Yeah, it has been excellent, but thank you so much, especially to everyone who tuned in here today. It has been a blast. It's been great, but everyone, we will see you next time. We'll see you then.